last week on Gleeboot, it was the Red Wedding, and all the gays got married, and Tina was further humiliated, and they had to move some very heavy hay bales, and the season 6 newbies just stood in the background. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
So last week, this is a little spoiler for today's episode. Last week, Allison of Week of the Week was like, I hate these new kids. And you know what? I saw this episode and I get it. I stand by her. Allison, I see you. I see you. Okay.
This was not a good episode for the new kids. I agree.
And it was basically all about them. And I was like, wow,
I know.
this is bad.
I was okay. I like them better when they're just
talk.
faces and they don't have stories and they're in the background.
Yeah. Oof.
Wow.
Gleeboot.
Welcome back to Gleeboot, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee one episode at a time. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa.
And I'm Hannah.
And we have a special quasi-return, quasi-new guest. See, if you recall, we did not have a guest for season 3, episode 2020, Props.
That's
but we
how
did.
long ago this was?
That's how long ago. Yeah, we did have a guest, but the Zoom gods were not on our side. Much like the Cursed Born This Way episode, things did not work, and our current guest was removed from Glodcast history. But we're here to right that wrong. Katie is returning for a considerably, very, very much worse episode.
You were meant to be on this episode. That's what that was.
God hates you, and so mess up the Zoom. He doesn't.
Well, I am very, very happy to be invited back. That is truly the funniest thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay, so wait, Born This Way episode was where like our friend, like my friend, kept having internet issues.
We were on
Katie,
Zencaster.
this person. Oh, was it Zencaster back then? But still, this person kept having internet issues, and we recorded the episode over like 4 different sessions.
Oh, wow.
It was Kyle Ray.
It was Kyle. Okay, I think I listened to that.
Us McDonald kids, we're cursed.
We're cursed. We're like the kids from It, where like they forget their past the farther away they go from the epicenter of Derry, Maine.
Wow.
2 of the most like crazy episodes we've had in terms of technical difficulties were my friends. That school, it did something to us.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what, but I agree.
Must have been that dinosaur song.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Katie knows the dinosaur song.
So this is Katie Little. I don't think I fully said her name.
Welcome back. Also welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a gurney from Props to Child Star.
Yeah.
So many ups and a lot of downs.
Yeah, and I mean, remind me again, like, so you're listening along and you haven't watched all of Glee, right?
No, I actually I did watch it when it came out, and it was one of the few shows where I remember I would actually sit down every week and watch it. I watched the first season. I liked it a lot. I think I had 2 or 3 of the CDs. And honestly, I discovered a lot of music through the show that I liked, although there's very few that I listened to the Glee version, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I think the only one might be River Deep Mountain High that I listened to the Glee version.
Good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's I like it better than the Tina Turner. But yeah, I watched the first season when it was out, which I think 2009, 10?
Mm-hmm. 2009, 2010.
And then the second season, and it's been funny like listening to you guys, recap everything because I've heard the plot through you. I remember distinctly watching the first season and the scene where Sue yells at Tina and oh my goodness, Sunshine, I think, in the bathroom to shut up. That's when I stopped watching. I just realized I was like, I've kind of lost interest. Like I just there was nothing that made me like I just stopped watching right then. I didn't even watch the rest of the episode. I was surprised when you guys covered that she didn't become a major character, and instead she was sent to a crack house.
Yep. It's and we've been mentioning that a lot lately. We're not letting Rachel have her character redemption in the last season, I guess. But yeah, so you follow along with the podcast. So you're on season 5, right? Still just listening to us?
Correct.
Yeah.
I've about, well, not quite halfway. I guess it's about a third of the way through. I've stopped right before the puppet episode because I'm like, I have to steel myself for this.
Yeah.
I love the Muppets. That's not it. I have a feeling Glee is not going to do puppets or Muppets justice.
Yeah, it was, it's not as traumatizing as I thought it was in hindsight.
Yeah.
There are worse evils out there, like this episode.
Yep.
Accurate.
Because like Puppet Master is actually like very entertaining to watch.
Absolutely.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's weird, but fun.
But like this, like Rafa walked in and was basically like, "Are you okay? Are you mad at me?" And I was like, "No, I just really hate this."
This episode. Oh my god.
Katie has one of my favorite lines on the podcast. I was so sad it got cut, and I repeat it all the time. That why is Mike Chang simping for Rachel?
Rachel.
He was. He really was.
It was upsetting. It really was. And I mean, I guess Tina's not in this season. Or, well, you mentioned she was in the previous episode, but I'm like, oh, there's no more Tina time. And Tina just really gets shit on all the time.
I kind of want to talk about what I'm drinking because I actually have alcohol today.
Okay.
Hey.
I have hot chocolate with a little bit of Bailey's almond milk.
Oh,
Bailey's.
yummy.
So Lyle tried making this because I was like, bring me home some Bailey's because I think it'd be good with hot chocolate. And he's like, okay. And so then that night I decided, like, actually, I don't want any. And then he was like, well, I'll make some for myself. And he poured like, I don't know, like maybe 3 or 4 shots of Bailey's. And then the hot chocolate, he was like, this is disgusting. I think I hate Bailey's. And I was like, well, you put too much in there. I let it put like a shot, maybe a shot and a half. It just got a little kick.
Yeah.
So good. And now it's creamier. Very good. Almond milk Bailey's, whatever like Swiss Miss hot chocolate you got going on with the hot water. Probably even better with like some milk, even creamier. So
Does Swiss Miss have dairy in it?
Probably.
I think it's like powdered milk.
I'm gonna have to go with the straight cocoa powder. I'm like all of these holiday meals and things that I normally just do. I'm like, okay, how do I do this without dairy?
Cocoa powder and sugar is probably all you need.
Yeah, cocoa powder, sugar, hot water.
Sweetened cocoa powder though, right? Because like baking cocoa powder is
no, like straight up, just 100% cocoa powder.
She grinds the beans. Yeah.
She picks them herself.
No, you could just buy 100% cocoa powder.
But I mean, like something used for baking, like that stuff tastes like shit. So you have to put a lot of sugar in it though.
I mean, I don't really. It tastes much more like chocolatey to me now because I've been on this diet for a whole, probably almost 6 months now, maybe 9 months since August. But yeah, so 6, yeah. It's been a while. So now I've noticed that I don't have as much of a sweet tooth, which is interesting.
Well, I wish that could happen to me. I have, because of like Halloween, I don't really snack on candy that much. Halloween, we brought some home. My dog did get into it the day after Halloween, so we had to go to the vet. He's fine. It's just a bit of a jerk. But also, I've like been eating candy and like now I just like bring me home some Snickers. And I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't need that.
Let's see, every year I buy candy corn for myself because I love candy corn. I walked by it in the store a couple of weeks ago and I thought to myself, oh, candy corn. And then like halfway down the aisle, I was like, what just happened? I did not even think about putting it in my cart. It was ridiculous. I didn't want it. It was kind of nice.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, and then I cried because I couldn't have it because I was going to feel really bad for you, but that's crazy.
I mean, I can probably eat candy corn. It didn't occur to me because it didn't sound good.
Interesting.
Candy corn, I've thrown you up so many times.
Oh no.
Oh, are we talking directly to candy corn? Candy corn, I think you're gross.
Not even
more
because I
for
think
me.
you're gross, but just because I ate
Ate
you on
too
a
much.
day.
Yeah, I don't like candy corn.
I eat you on a day that I often indulge in a lot of alcohol as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to when I threw up in the bathroom during a mafia game at Alyssa's coworker's Halloween party and came back, fell asleep, and they told us to pretend to fall asleep. And then they still said I was the mafia. And I was like, how?
100% Cullen was mafia.
I was like, no. All right. I'm drinking heated up cider with whatever it is. Piss of Lilith.
Fireball.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had, like mulled cider with alcohol. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I am drinking a very strange concoction. This is
A Bloody
the
Mary?
leftovers. It's
Kind
the
of.
leftovers of a mango chili ice cream treat
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it has the
Tahini?
yes, it has tahini on the top. I don't really like them very much, so I was eating it really slowly. So I had a good amount left, and I was like, I'm just gonna pour a shot of vodka in here and mix it up. So it tastes like a Bloody Mary with mango.
That actually probably wouldn't be too bad. I would actually probably want to drink that. I don't love Bloody Marys to begin with. So.
I'm not a fan. I'm still eating it slowly.
I think that's up there with a Cullen is panicking, which is a shot of triple sec with a lemon wedge thrown in.
Yeah, God, I remember that. Katie, I saw you drinking some wine.
I am. I've got a cab sav here, so I enjoy that.
So, Katie, what is your? We kind of talked about your Gurney, your history with the show Glee.
Yes.
So, I guess, who's your Glee character? What did BuzzFeed tell you about yourself?
This is interesting because when I was on the episode prior, I was told that I was Kurt.
Okay.
And I wondered if, if that had changed or, if I should just, if it was the same. So I took the quiz again and now it says I'm Santana, which I don't think is true, but interesting.
The pandemic
twist.
Hardened you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can
That's
picture
right.
Santana saying, why is Mike Chang simping for Rachel?
Yep.
Yeah, so I kind of liked that, but unfortunately, and Hannah, you can commiserate with me, my boyfriend was Artie both times.
Oh my gosh.
That's
like,
our high school really did something to us. Don't know what it is, but we have proof.
So let's talk about Child Star. So
you mentioned this person's name. Was it last week?
Yeah, me and
Alyssa and I were like, no idea who this is. Wow.
Wait, he doesn't. Oh my God.
What?
I was hoping that he was going to be one of those characters that's introduced and then goes away.
No.
I mean, he's literally in the Glee Club at the end. Spoiler alert for this episode.
I know. Well, I mean, I knew that, but I just want Glee next episode to forget that he exists, like they do with a bunch of other people.
Well, I guess there's still a chance. We don't know.
You don't know.
You and I don't know. So there are 13 episodes this season, right?
Yes, we are on episode.
There are 2 more this season story-based for these characters episodes. And they just now introduce a new character.
2 new characters.
This Alistair, which that is an old man's name. I'm sorry.
Wait, who's Alistair?
Billie
the guy with the long
brother.
Hair. Really?
Oh,
Billie Eilish's brother?
That's Phineas O'Connell, Billie Eilish's brother.
No way.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, postmodern gay's little boyfriend, I guess. I guess they're dating. I refuse to learn his name, but you know what? I have learned his name, and I almost wrote his name in my notes. I was like, no, his name is postmodern gay.
Yeah.
That works better, I think, than his actual name.
Because it doesn't have the dignity of a human name, because he doesn't deserve that.
I kept thinking that postmodern gay, aka Spencer, and Alistair looked very similar. I wrote down in my notes his gay twin.
Kind of. I mean,
Glee does not think gay men come in any other flavor other than white.
White.
Darren Criss, who is part Filipino, is like the most diverse gay they've had on the show.
That is so wild.
But he's not part Filipino on the show, is he?
Yeah, they don't say that. His
think
brother
so.
is Matt Bomer, who's very Caucasian.
Very
white.
Yeah, I mean,
practically straight from Western Europe.
Yeah,
right off the boat.
Yeah, I mean, even Jeremiah, who worked at the Gap, white.
Very white.
Yeah.
With a name like Jeremiah.
I mean, there was Telly Long, hot warbler, who would play Aladdin on Broadway. He is Filipino. He may or may not have been gay in the show, but
here's something else that like I kind of had a problem with is that like I don't know if like the person who plays Spencer is actually gay, but I was like, I don't believe that you're gay. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm too traditional. It's like maybe I'm homophobic. I don't believe this chemistry.
Well, yeah, is there chemistry? I didn't see any, but
because that's the thing is that Blaine and Kurt don't have a ton of chemistry. That's one of their main critiques.
Tiny bit.
But like you can believe that Blaine is gay.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I like God, this is gonna like I hope it doesn't sound like I'm like I have certain expectations for gay men, but like I really think comes down to the acting. I'm like, I don't believe this. But yeah, the guy who was in the Warblers, I also had that question because I was like, I think that person in real life is gay and they're playing a straight person or just like an ambiguous sexuality. So
I mean, they're barely a character, but I love them, so I noticed them. But yeah. I mean, I get it. Spencer doesn't really feel gay at all, and I think
he doesn't feel authentic, but none of them do. So I guess maybe it's sort of a symptom of that.
Yeah,
I guess jumping ahead, but
it just feels like he's just saying lines. I don't think it's even that I couldn't believe that man is gay. I think I don't think I could believe that man is capable of love. I think that's the big problem.
Actually,
no, that's smart. You're right.
I think that's actually probably a better way to put it. Is that like, even if he was trying to flirt with a girl, I would be like, I don't believe that he's friends with any of these people. No. He's not a genuine
that's
person.
The thing. Like, if I saw him flirting with a girl, probably because I'm a woman, I would be completely up in arms and be like, he's a terrible person and is preying on you. Now that I think about it, same deal.
Because I could believe Puck was bisexual. You could convince me of that because I think he's an equal opportunity predator.
Ooh.
Like I could see him. I don't necessarily couldn't see him like having some grand romance with a man, but I could see him preying on one, which is sad. But like that's just you know.
Wow, what a way to start this episode.
What a way. But like, because even someone who is, Faberry, like Rachel tends to be very on the straight side, right? She's very about boys. But like, even Rachel, you can believe she's capable of loving someone. Even though she's very selfish, you can believe she has strong feelings about Finn and Quinn and Kurt, like, and I don't want to blame the actor maybe as much as the writing.
Oh yeah, I think like he was working with what he was given, and props
which was
to that,
like
I guess.
one episode of character development. Like I guess he's been doing shit, I think more than any other of the newbies, because he was like getting involved in Coach Beast's business.
Well, it's so interesting because they paint him as such a terrible person, and then they give him this romantic through line, and it just doesn't work. It's like they've been setting it up in a completely opposite direction. So
I mean, it's like a season of character development in one episode.
Yeah.
Like I could see that, he's a jerk, and then he learns to be friends with Roderick over time, and then he ends up getting with Roderick's friend, like all that. Let's talk about this episode. We're avoiding it because it sucks.
It's so
power
bad.
Through.
What are our storylines?
We have Roderick Spencer. I think that's is that the A plot, kind of?
Yeah, I would say like him, Alistair, Roderick, like the love story / I guess friendship. The biggest loser setup.
We have Sue trying to appease, whoever the school board guy,
superintendent,
who doesn't like the caning.
No,
but doesn't do anything about it.
No.
Yeah.
And I guess we have Mason and Madison, or Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
Morgan, as Hannah put in the ballot, but I changed it to Madison because I was like, wait, which one's Morgan? I'm like, none of them. And then we kind of have like a Rachel and Will like D plot that's just kind of vaguely like, wait, you don't give a shit about these people. Oh, I guess you're a great woman, you know, like.
I don't even remember that. So props.
We can talk about that one first because that'll take 30 seconds. Basically, Will is like, tell me about the new kids, Rachel. And she's like, they're really sweet and nice and they're great performers, but they're like kind of shy, kind of to themselves. And he's like, you don't know shit about them because you're always talking, right? And she's like,
That was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I was like, I'm glad the show is like kind of calling that out. It's like, well, we haven't gotten to know them as an audience, so of course that the teacher who's running this doesn't know them either.
Because later when she's announcing, we're going to perform at this bar mitzvah, and Kitty's like, are we actually going to perform? Are you about to announce another alumnus?
Alumnus. I was like,
true.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they're like, what do we want to do? But she's like, yeah, it'll be great. It'll be bonding for us as a team. And then Will kind of sees that they're dicks. And at one point, Rachel's like, excuse me, when Roderick calls Spencer a dick. And I'm like, you told Santana her only job would be on the pole in the very same classroom. So,
you know, this is the only situation in which I feel like it's somewhat appropriate that Will doesn't step in because he's not the actual teacher. It should be Rachel's job. But then I'm also like, this is just par for the course for him. Of course, he's just going to let these students say whatever the fuck they want to each other.
Yeah.
That part made me a little bit upset. I was like, why is Rachel shocked? They were just as bad, if not worse. Like her class. You know, it's like, maybe, I guess, you know, ideally she would have grown up now that she's in a teacher role, but it doesn't seem that way.
But she could have stepped in and been like, hey, my boyfriend Finn was body shamed all the time. And he was a team player. And he was on the football team. And he died, Spencer. But like just kind of using that as like, being like your weight isn't reflective of personal worth, but that's a lot for Glee. So,
well, also there's not really anyone in the group who has had, like, for instance, like Mercedes. Like if she had been like, say if she was in Rachel's spot, she could actually like connect on that level and be like, listen, I've been here.
Yeah, Mercedes, who Will called lazy all the time. Yes.
Yeah, but also like he's the only bigger person, and I still stand by this. He's not even that big. He is like a football player, and
he's like Karofsky's build. Yeah,
Karofsky didn't get bullied for being probably because he was on the football team.
What about Lauren? I guess
there was Lauren.
Yeah. So, but she kind of like owned it.
Yeah.
So it's just really weird because like there's no one, like they had more people of different body sizes, even though like obviously the predominant was like the traditionally, you know, whatever. It's still bananas to me. He's also the only like bigger guy in his gym class, which we'll talk about. But anyway.
That's not a real Ohio gym class. I'm just gonna say that.
Not a real gym class in America. Come on.
So
like, there's a lot of kids. Like, come on.
They do the performance, and I guess they kind of bond. And Will is like, Rachel, so glad to have seen you grow. You're gonna really bond with these kids. So glad to be working with you.
You're gonna bond with these kids over the next 2 episodes. I'm really proud of you.
Oh, I loved when Will said, he's like, you know, some kids that'll stay with you, others will disappear. It's like, yeah, a lot of people have disappeared. Marley disappeared.
I wrote that. Disappear.
Where are they?
They're gone.
The spiders in his ears was the first one to go, I think. And like, like, where are these
true
people?
crime stories about these children?
That child, he disappeared under Will's watch. At least like Marley and stuff like that was under Sue because Will was gone at that point.
I think Sue has behind that Hurt Locker has some bodies. I think she has spider eggs. I think she has Marley. I think she has Jake and Ryder. Sugar's alive. Sugar made it, but Joe's back there. I think Rory is because he only appeared as an angel.
He went to get on his plane to Ireland, and she intercepted the Aer Lingus flight and kidnapped him.
And she was like, "I'm not risking you potentially coming back and bringing all of Celtic Thunder with you."
And singing another song from
Suddenly Glee has gone from a dramedy to a full season murder mystery procedural.
I see that. I think that's going on in the background this whole time.
Do you think it's like a Matrix situation? Like she has them like hooked up to some kind of like she's taking their energy?
Maybe, or maybe in more like a demonic child eating ritual. Yeah, like very the witch in Hansel and Gretel. You know,
she sells their body parts so that she can buy all the pantsuits and all the different fabrics and colors that she wants.
Yeah, and more money for the canes to cane the children with,
because they break all the time.
Yeah, I hate Sue. Okay, Sue is probably the next governor of Florida. I'm just saying it.
Oh, it'll be a race to the bottom.
Yes,
all three of them. DeSantis, Trump, and Sue.
The fucking Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico.
I mean, did you hear that Texas blocked student loan?
Yeah.
And I'm
did I hear that? Yes.
Do I love that? No.
No. I'm at
Fuck
this
you,
point,
Texas.
I'm like,
fuck you.
Texas and Florida talk a big game about being their own little economies. Let's let them. 48 states. Bye.
They do. They talk a big game. Let's see how they do.
Because those states, and I know this because I watched The Politician by Ryan Murphy, starring Gwyneth Paltrow, who voted for Rick Caruso, so I'm mad at her. But they said that, you know, a lot of these states function with tax dollars from places like California, which is fair.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense as a country. We're one country, whatever. But if you're going to shit on us, if you're going to say don't say gay, if you're going to ruin student loan reimbursement, then deal with your shitty privatized infrastructure that's actually really bad.
Sips tea, literally.
Yeah.
I have this little glass. I don't know if you can see it. It says home, but Ohio is red. And unfortunately, Ohio is very red.
Yeah.
So is Indiana. Like I did a down ballot for the Democratic Party, and 4 of the multiple categories were selected for me, and then I had to pick all Republicans.
Oh my God, you didn't even have Democrat options?
Well, I already picked. There was 4 categories where there were maybe 4 or 5 people where there were like the different parties, right?
Yeah.
And then other offices that I could choose from, they were all Republican candidates. Or then there was like school board, which is non-party.
Yeah.
That was it. I thought down ballot, it's going to take me 5 minutes. Nope. I had to pick from a bunch of Republicans.
Yeah. In California, it's like figuring out what kind of Democrat the Democrats are.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
I don't even have that pleasure.
Yeah.
No.
Though Rick Caruso switched parties right before running. Katy Perry, I'm disappointed in you.
Listen, I voted and I did all my research, but I don't remember who I voted for.
No. Blank slate.
Absolutely not.
Did the research, close the book.
Yep.
Yeah. File that in the trash. All right. Okay. So fuck those people that are ruining everything for everyone.
Or, you know, just for me. I don't care about anyone else. But if you ruin it for me.
Rachel Berry energy. So yeah, Will's like, yeah, Rachel, you're okay. So that's like the Rachel D, like it's not even a full D plot. It's like a D.5. Because I wrote like, are we really just gonna end the episode on like a Rachel note? Like she was the main character. And I did at one point, I was like, wait, where's Kurt? Then I'm like, oh yes, he's on his honeymoon.
I thought that too, literally like a couple hours ago. I'd watched it this morning, and then I was like, Kurt wasn't there. And I was like, oh, that's right, he got married last week. It must have been a really long weekend in Provincetown.
They went
they were only supposed to be there for 2 days.
Sue bought them a little trip, but the lesbians, they got a whole month.
Yeah. That trip was paid for by Marley's heart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Her heart and her kidneys.
Her kidneys, which could be canon because we will never see Marley again.
Oh my goodness.
She's harvesting her organs.
Okay. I guess we have probably the most to say about like the main storyline. Okay. I just keep sighing. I'm becoming my dad. This is what my dad would do during like a mass that he felt was too liberal.
I love that.
So Sue is, screaming things at the kids, the usual in this gym class.
It's an all boys gym class.
Yeah.
It's like the presidential fitness test thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
I hated those things.
I don't, you know what? I'm gonna be really vulnerable and brave. I lied in my test about having to like run. I think we had to run a mile or whatever. And I think around the track at the high school was, I don't know, like 4 laps or something. I did like 3, and I was like, yeah, I totally did it in like 15 minutes, which is like not great for a mile, but it's like not bad.
I
Especially
can't run a mile.
Chubby.
No way, I can't run a mile.
I walked most of it. Let's be real. But like, it was basically like our entire grade in the gym class. What are they gonna do with like 68 children? Like they're actually gonna track me? No, they're not. They're gonna take my word for it and be like, okay, cool.
I think I said that I had asthma, and then they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna listen to this podcast and rescind Hannah's high school degree. It's gonna be like
high school diploma.
It's gonna be like
come to my door.
That Rebel Wilson movie. Getting back, Drew Barrymore never been kissed. So she's like, whatever, and they have to climb this rope, which that is hard.
I've never tried.
Is that really a thing that they did in the present? We didn't have to do that.
We didn't have to do that. I think it was an older thing, though.
I vaguely remember, and I vaguely remember there being a rope climb and being pissed off because only the boys could do it.
Okay, that's sexist, but also that's just a liability. Why would you have that in the test? Like, that's just dumb.
Like, I'm someone who like works out and exercises on a pretty regular basis. That would still be hard, you know, for any kind, just even based on my height and the amount of upper body strength it takes to like lift myself. Like even like pull-ups, like I usually use like the assist because like
I can't do pull-ups. No way. I climb using my legs.
Yep.
Yeah, most of my strength.
And you can't do that on
a rope.
On the rope.
No.
Like it's like almost all body strength. Like you need the legs to like tension and to keep you from falling. That's it.
But yeah, again, as someone who most of my body is my legs, and most of my strength is in my legs. Like the rope would be like, oh, so like this, it's insane. And she's like, everyone's gonna reach the top of the rope. Not even like, hey, you tried, you did it.
Most high schoolers probably would not be able to do that.
Yeah. Like even people on the football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like there are so many fit people in that class. They're like, oh, it's like whatever. Like you're so lame, you can't do it. I'm like, listen, even like the fittest people they're what, like 16 years old, couldn't do that.
Well, they don't have you don't have developed muscles at that point. No. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a bunch of 25-year-old LA actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have personal trainers or are personal trainers.
Or doing CrossFit and telling everyone they know about it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is getting personal.
This is just a CrossFit. That's just CrossFit culture. Yeah.
I heard more about CrossFit in Boston than I do here. But also, I had different people that I interacted with. Mostly here, I hear about hiking.
Yeah. Which is at least actually fun.
Depending on what level it is.
So they're just like, Spencer does it right away. And then Roderick's doing it and he's like struggling, like, come on, fat, and like everyone's laughing. And
I was really confused by this moment where we look at like Spencer's reaction to everyone laughing, because he's kind of like angry about it and like he shoved someone, and I was like, okay, maybe this episode is going somewhere I didn't think it would go, and then it just does 180 and that meant nothing.
Yeah, like it could have been, oh, Spencer doesn't like bullying people for their weight because that's like a sucky thing to do,
or maybe he like is feeling attached to the Glee.
Yeah, he's like, that's my teammate, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen. No, he just wants to be the new coach on The Biggest Loser.
So they're like, and then he's struggling, and Sue is like, pull up your shorts so no one falls into your soupy butt crack.
What the actual fuck?
Punch that woman. Break her nose. She's better pay those hospital bills. She's not allowed to have health insurance. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like Glee is full on turns me into like a medieval peasant. I'm like, execute them. drag them. Usually I'm like, I don't believe in
I don't believe in
the death
violence.
penalty.
Eye for
I don't
an
believe in the death
eye.
penalty. No, but I watch Glee and I'm like, these people need to suffer.
It's very, I mean, I guess I think what this episode aired in 2015, and I mean, you guys have talked about this a
Yeah.
lot with like how regressive a lot of what Glee seems now, but it's like this seems in particular, like I feel like even when they were talking about it with Mercedes, it was a little more, I mean, it was still fat phobic, but it was a little more nuanced as to like how other people were reacting.
I think it's because
and they
it's
were
a
they were
man
more subtle.
or
Maybe?
a boy. I guess he's a
Yeah.
boy, but
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I
Because
mean,
they were
Yeah,
like
I-
more subtle about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that it's good either way. Of course it isn't.
Yeah.
But it's so overt that it feels like cartoonish.
well, I
Mhm.
feel like
Yeah.
Glee was trying to be super sensitive about like women body issue. Well, maybe not super sensitive, but like trying to be more aware, possibly,
Right.
yeah.
like
Mhm.
women body issues and body issues for girls. But there seems to be absolutely no carryover for the male of the species.
Yeah, and I think like possibly it's because like the discourse wasn't as prominent as it was for
Yeah.
like directed toward women.
I mean,
So-
I would still say that's the case. I don't want to sound like
Yeah.
some kind of men's rights
No.
activist. I think it's because a fat man is seen as a threat to traditional masculinity because he
Mm.
can't fit that ideal that they
Right.
have that's based on like sculptures that were not based on real people. So they then so like women, it's like more like, oh, like the body positivity movement has made more ground. I mean, again, the incels and the men's rights activists constantly complain about it. So I'm not saying
Mhm.
like it's just so easy to be like,
But it's
a woman
definitely
and
more
a
like
white-
it's more mainstream.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dove
definitely.
did that whole campaign on it and they continue
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah,
that-
and
I
the
think-
idea of like accepting multiple body types seems more accepted for women than it does for
Yeah.
men.
Mhm.
Men are, as someone with an eating disorder, and when it was the worst was when I was at my thinnest, is like that just like you have to fit that standard and nothing else is presented with the exception of like you have like sitcom dads who have like hot wives and are like ugly,
Right.
but like if,
Straight up uggos.
no, sorry, but like I'm not saying those men are ugly, they're portrayed as ugly in the
But
show.
they have, like-
We're supposed to
Right.
read them
They
as
have
ugly.
specific like dad bod, but like more of like the rounder dad bod than like what we understand
Wait,
as like a dad
sitcom
bod.
dads?
Yeah,
I don't know.
like
Yeah, like King
Not-
of Queens, maybe.
Oh,
something
yeah,
okay.
I'm
Yes.
thinking of that specific, or like maybe even Tim Allen sometimes.
I
But,
mean,
like,
I still think he was portrayed as being more attractive.
yeah, I'm specifically thinking of King and Queen, King of Queens,
Yeah.
and like some of those. There's a couple others that fit that.
Mhm.
But again, yeah, it's not as common, and like Roderick isn't. There's no mention of Roderick having a romance with like Madison.
Nope.
No, that's the thing is that like
With
Uh,
anyone.
Yeah,
With
yeah, he's
with
the
anyone.
only one who does it's because he's fat.
But
we
there's
hate
this
this.
weird moment where he has this like wisdom when he's talking to Spencer about being like, yeah, that's the least romantic thing I've ever seen.
yeah.
You remember that moment? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Like,
Roderick's
you call
gonna
that
be like,
flirting?
he's gonna be like the expert on
Yeah, the
romance
ladies'
and like
man.
get
I
all
would
the
love that.
ladies.
I would love that.
No,
And I think that
it
makes
doesn't
sense.
happen.
'Cause, like
I think it does make sense.
I feel like he doesn't even have to try. It's like his voice. And like
Mhm.
he's got like a swagger to him,
Mhm.
but he's also kind of like he's kind of shy. So that's also like another thing that draws. I feel like I love this.
I could see an
want this for him.
extroverted girl just like adopting him as her
Yeah.
boyfriend, just like
Yeah.
we're one of breadsticks, and that could have been
Yes.
really funny. And like, yes, taking care of your health is important, but a lie that diet culture tells you is that everyone should look the same and will look the same if all the right
Right.
steps are taken. That just
It
isn't
is
true.
wrong.
The other thing is like
Wrong.
I don't believe that these people, like these students, would actually make fun of him. I feel like they would try to bully him to be on the football team because he's got linebacker shoulders. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
come
yeah.
on. They would. That's what they would do. They would peer pressure him into being like, "Dude, you gotta join the football team. We need you. We suck."
Yeah.
Basically, what Glee did to everyone who joined Glee, except it's a football team.
Yeah.
Right, bully them into it.
You know what? We'll just plant
Blackmail
some
him
drugs in
into
their
it.
locker. There you go.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. It's like a lot of times, like with sitcoms, it seems that or at least what I've noticed, that like heavy men, they tend to be the comic relief, but like never really the hero.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like at least in TV shows like Glee, it's like, okay, the romantic plots usually go to more like the hero archetype rather than like comedic relief. But
yeah,
I mean, in real life, attraction is so specific and nuanced, and it just doesn't, like in real life, you know, nobody has to be, obviously people do, you know, treat very attractive people better, and that's a real problem, but at the same time, not everyone is attracted to like what the Hollywood standard is, or like
right.
not just that, you know, like and shows like that make you think that everyone has the same exact conception of beauty, and it's just not. It's just not really true.
Yeah, like I could see someone like Roderick, like he's not unattractive. Like I could see him, people dating him. Like I could see other people being like, oh, I don't date, you know, but like,
and
people,
he's a singer. Come on.
Yeah. He dresses
catnip
well
for women.
Yes, literally catnip for women. Absolutely.
He has nice hair.
He has nice hair. He looks very clean, which obviously, but like Sue, I only noticed this because Sue said something about picking out pimples, and I'm like, that man does not have a pimple.
No.
Yeah, and so
the most unrealistic part of any high school show, nobody has zits.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
erasure.
Zit erasure. Yeah. And then Beast at one point kind of like snaps at people making fun of Roderick, but I'm like, Beast, Sheldon should not allow this. Like, I'm sorry.
Sheldon would be like, you need to join my football team.
Like, I'm disappointed in Sheldon because I guess Sheldon's like, oh, like me and Sue are friends. But like, to allow Sue to do this to someone, like as a child, and I had a strong respect for authority, I would have either mouthed off to that teacher or like told my parents.
Right.
Because I would have been horrified.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this, I talked about it with someone recently, the idea of like innocence, and that like children aren't innocent, but an aspect of innocence that's often overlooked is this idea of right and wrong, that you haven't been jaded, that like, oh, that's how the world works. You're like, oh no, that's not acceptable for someone to talk like that. Right. You know?
Right.
And that all those kids, there would be an asshole that would make fun of Roderick's weight, but that entire class of twinks is like roasting him. Like, that's people would be realistic. Like, oh, that's really awful. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would be. I'm sure him getting bullied is if it were more realistic, it would be more subtle.
Yeah,
like he would get bullied for like no reason, and then like maybe that would be underlying it. But I feel like people wouldn't really say that reason out loud, not in front of everybody.
Yeah, like I can see. Like, because when people talk about boys will be boys and all that bullshit, like, I'm like, yes, there are boys that like to torture people and are mean, but it's an assumption that all boys are like that, and they're told that that's okay and that's normal and that's something they should be like. But I don't think that's inherently natural to be that level of cruel. Yeah, so like that's something I often struggle with in high school media. And something I've employed in my own writing that I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. That like everyone would just be like so vitriousally mean. You know, like I think a lot of people would be like, ugh. Like maybe in the 80s. Honestly, I think in Reagan's America, yes. But
well, I feel like it's more not everyone's mean, but there's a couple people who are really mean, and
they're
then
vocal.
They're vocal about it. And then number one, there's like bystander effect where nobody does anything, and or you have a few followers that just make it worse.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not that bullying doesn't happen, I guess I'm saying it's just this whole situation is just so barbaric that I can't imagine like that no one would at least report this.
Yeah,
be like, and then that was fucked up.
And then the show reinforces it by being like, his storyline is not, oh, we're gonna fight the bullies, or we're gonna stand up to them and prove to them that like he doesn't he's literally like, it's a weight loss storyline.
Yeah. if you wanted to make it about health and weight loss, maybe he has a medical problem, which I'm not saying this is the story, but if I was given the task of writing health and weight loss, it'd be, oh, I have a medical problem and I need help losing weight. And it's really hard because losing weight is hard.
Yeah.
You know, so like, and he turns to Spencer for like help. Again, that's not a storyline I really want to watch, but if someone asks me to write that with the end goal of him deciding to lose weight and diet, that's the storyline I would come up with. Yeah. Not he needs to do it to prove that he can be a team player.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's really fucked up. That is very Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Very Erewhon. So Erewhon is a bougie grocery store in Los Angeles, but is named after a dystopian novel where they view moral failings as like health failings and health failings as moral failings. So if you have a cough, you like pretend you're an alcoholic because that's acceptable, but having a cough is not acceptable. Like that's it was kind of a dry novel. I did not finish it, but I think it's very funny that the bougiest like grocery store in LA is named after that dystopia because LA is like child predator. I mean, at least you're not fat.
Absolutely too true.
Yeah, the thing is, I do think we, like as a society, we do attribute a lot of morality to health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was walking by, I was in Cleveland yesterday. I walked by this one restaurant and I've been there before. Like it's pretty good. They have a lot of like different like vegetarian and vegan options. They're very sort of hipster. And they had a sign out front, and I've seen this a few times like on social media, but it's like being healthy is hard, being unhealthy is hard, choose your hard. And it's like it's not that simple. Like not everybody can choose to be healthy. Like I work with sick people, I see sick people all the time, and like I do wish like for example people would quit smoking. That's like the biggest thing, but like it's not always a choice. Like sometimes bad things happen to like good or just neutral people, and it's like it's not that easy.
We also live in a society that like monetizes everything. So in order to be quote unquote healthy, you have to spend money on it. Like a lot of money.
It's cheaper to eat unhealthy. We're a reverse of the olden days. It used to be like the rich people weighed more and the poor people weighed less. But now it's because of a lack of FDA regulations. That is not the case. It's the opposite because it's expensive, you know, and that's why I don't think a bunch of boys in an Ohio gym class would all look like they worked at Abercrombie. You know, like there'd be a few, but like, and even then, I'm not saying they'd all be over. Like, it's just they wouldn't all have six packs, which are very hard to achieve, very hard to maintain. Most Hollywood actors do not have them all year round.
Like they have to like dehydrate to do that.
Yeah, Marvel actors, they have to prep for those scenes. And like Chris Evans is probably always in decent shape, but like the shape he's in a Captain America movie isn't his default. He has to like amp up for that.
Yeah, that in itself is unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at as being the healthiest peak condition. No.
And it's never brought up when people don't want to drink alcohol. You know, it's never brought because alcohol is just sugar. Well, it's a lot, but like it's mainly sugar. Like there are times when I've been sick from alcohol, not from being hungover, but just like it's like if I ate 6 cupcakes, I wouldn't feel good.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like it just pisses me off so much that there's some nuance in that Roderick gets to call Spencer a dick a few times.
Yeah. And I thought that's how it was gonna go. I was like, oh good, he's sticking up for himself. But then it didn't, like essentially at the end, like Spencer is kind of rewarded for the way he treated Roderick. And it's like I didn't like that.
Yeah, and Roderick also, well, we're not to that scene, but there's
there's a scene that felt very boomer Hollywood does not feel okay with allowing someone to remain fat.
Right.
That is a moral failing to them. Sue, and I'm just gonna spoilers, throughout the series will never be completely like in prison as she should be. You know, like she's never completely punished. She's punished in degrees, but like to the level of her villainy, which involves child abuse. We see it on screen multiple times, her physically assaulting minors as well as adults. You know, like that is not as bad to them as being fat. Like that is allowed, like they still think of it as bad, but it's allowed to exist in society.
Right.
So where are we in the story? So
but that's
because I was like trying to figure out like where.
So we're in that first scene. So then
are we doing Roderick and Spencer now?
Yeah, we're doing Roderick and Spencer.
Okay.
So there's scenes where like he's like, hey, you need to like get in shape because we're on the Glee Club together. He like comes up to him and I thought he was about to be like, oh, what Sue did was not okay. And he's like, hey, like, you need to get in shape. You can't dance. You can't do choreography. You're not a team player. And
not
like,
fair because nobody can do choreography in that club.
No, absolutely not. Even the skinny people. I'm like,
except for Brittany. She's the only one.
But Brittany, technically not in the club. So that's even worse. She's not going to be competing.
Yeah, and so he's just and then Spencer or Roderick's just like, yeah, you're a dick. And he just kind of walks off and he's like, stop eating those gummy bears.
Yeah.
You know what I would do? I would take those gummy bears and shove them down his throat. I'm sorry. I'm not usually this person. Yeah.
I would take the gummy bear bag and I would hold it up. And then I would take one gummy bear out. And then I would put it in my mouth as I'm watching Spencer and I'd chew it up and I'd eat it. And then I'd do another one.
And I would
very
chew it up
slowly.
And spit it on his clothing.
No, that's a waste of a gummy bear.
Maybe just like lick it and stick it on his forehead.
Yes, okay, that one I like.
Yeah, this awful man, this awful child. Yeah, so then Spencer sees Roderick talking to Billie Eilish's brother. And he's like, that long-haired, that aerial-haired man.
Did we talk about the scene where Spencer is like pining after him?
This is where he like looks in. This is where he's pining.
Doesn't he have a scene before that?
Is
like where he's like singing about him or something?
That's later, yeah.
So, but when they're doing like the presidential fitness thing, I think this is like in part of the first sequence.
Oh yeah, we definitely get the idea that
he's like holding the feet down for this. Isn't it Alistair?
Alistair.
Isn't it him in that scene? Like he's doing the crunches.
Yeah.
Yes, and then like every time he comes up, Spencer has this weird, silly grin on his face.
I'm sorry, that was really creepy.
That is creepy because when you're holding someone like that, you can look up their shorts. I don't do that because that's creepy, but I would like you focus on like kind of like eye contact or looking away. Like you do things to make it not weird.
Yes.
It's like if you're helping someone who's sick and they need help getting dressed, you're not gonna like stare at their nude. You're gonna like talk or like, there's ways to make you just do it to make it not weird. But like, so if someone's
making
like
it weird,
grinning at you, you're like,
yeah,
what?
You're like, I think I'm gonna stay down here in this position.
So that's when we notice that he has like a crush on this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, who he has not talked to.
No,
before.
And we don't know who he is.
Yeah, he has the same name. The only other time I've heard this name, I think, is a character in the Ever After a High franchise who is supposed to be the son of Alice in Wonderland.
Alistair Crowley. You've never heard of Alistair Crowley?
Yeah.
What's that?
He's
like from
Harry Potter.
He's Harry Potter, but I mean, also historically, he's like one of the founders of a type of Satanism. Very kind of a famous person.
Yes. Maybe that's who I'm thinking of. Isn't there an Alistair in Harry Potter though? Is that his name? I don't think it's Alistair Crowley, but
Alistair, that's a Mad-Eye Moody.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's this is random, but in Wonder Woman 1984, Pedro Pascal's son is named Alistair.
Mm-hmm. There's an Alistair.
He yells it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling all Alistairs, whether
I actually kind of like the name, to be honest.
Really?
I do.
I do too.
No, it's not a bad name. If I'm writing like a mythical, medieval, or 1800s-y thing,
sure,
Alistair. Yeah. But if I'm writing an Ohio teen, sorry, his name's Kyle. There are no other names.
It's like, it's like your parents are stoners. I'm sorry to give you that name.
I mean, I think Alistair's a stoner. I think he's
absolutely.
For
stoner,
sure.
He's Stoner Brett's younger brother. It's canon. It's
Oh
canon.
my God.
He's
It makes sense. It makes
Yeah,
They
sense.
but
both have long hair too, right?
Yeah,
They
and
kind of look similar.
red long hair and
Mhm.
beanies. That's the same beanie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stole it from his brother.
You ever see me without this hat? No, that's weird. Jughead.
Well, his real name is Phineas, which isn't much better.
Yeah, I mean, at least be fur, but
that's the green hair and all.
the green hair. It's an Irish name. Phineas is an Irish name.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
they're
true.
and they're very Irish, that family.
Yeah. So they're he's staring up Alistair's shorts, whatever. So then he sees Alistair and he's like figures out that Roderick and Alistair are friends, which is honestly maybe the smartest choice Glee has made all season, and that I'm like, I believe these two people would be friends.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he basically comes in and is like, hey buddy, we're all pals. This is Danny Zuko levels of cringe. I always struggle, you know, the scene in Grease where Sandy's like, Danny, he's like, oh Sandy, then he's like, oh wait, yeah, I've just been like rocking and rolling, and it's so bad. The acting is so bad. Sorry, John Travolta. But
don't apologize to him. He's a Scientologist from Ocala, Florida. Don't apologize to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he has had a pretty bad couple years, though.
Oh, really?
Didn't his
well,
kid
he
die?
lost his son, and then his wife died. Yeah, Kelly.
That's right.
Yeah, Kelly Preston. Is that her name?
That sounds
right.
Condolences, but your acting in Grease wasn't my favorite. But anyways, at least it's iconic. You know what? At least Grease has the dignity to be an iconic movie. This episode of Glee, not so much. So Roderick is basically like, what? And then he's like, look at the gun show. As if that's ever worked. That's something people do as a joke. You know, like joke flirting. It's like those fake pickup lines.
That or the media, like we're making fun of that person who's like trying to like Johnny Bravo their way through the situation.
Yeah.
But like I feel like this was somewhat genuine. Like we were supposed to like be like, oh yeah, look at you go.
And Alistair's just like, he's just like, I need to get out of here. He's like, I left something in my locker. Because how
that
else
was so obvious that he's uncomfortable.
Also, okay, I know this is postmodern gay and we've defeated homophobia in the Glee universe, but unless you're in a gay space, you don't really just come up to a random man or boy, they're boys, but like, and just start doing that. You know, there's subtler ways I could see like a gay boy trying to suss out if he's gay, or like, you know, or like even just being like, oh yeah, let me like doing some kind of bend and snap bullshit, you know, like I could see that, but like just straight up being like, look at the gun show, which is like painfully obvious even in like straight situations, let alone a gay, you know, like I'm just like, this makes no sense.
Well, it was like oddly coded because it's a really cringy way to hit on someone, but I couldn't tell because this is the Gleeverse that if Alistair left because he was feeling uncomfortable because he wasn't gay, or because he was like uncomfortable with being hit on.
Yeah. This is Ohio, and hate crimes happen everywhere, so people are generally a little more careful. Yikes. So then Roderick is like, what was that? That was horrifying.
Yeah, this is where he's like, you call that flirting?
He's like, that is the least romantic thing I've ever seen. He's like, was that you flirting? And see, there's something to this storyline, and I like the idea that Roderick's like, that's embarrassing for you. That Spencer is all fat phobic on his high horse, and Spencer's like, yeah, you still get no bitches. You know, like no one is into you because your personality sucks. And you're awkward, and like you're so obsessed with yourself. Yeah, because I've never seen Spencer with a friend, but Roderick has one. That's more than most of the characters in Glee do. He has one friend. The only Sam has a friend. That's it. Sam and Blaine are friends. Like, so it's like, anyway, so Alice, so he's like, I'll help you with the fitness test. I think this is another scene, but I'm just, and he's like, I'll help you with the fitness test if you help me with Alistair. And he's like, okay, whatever. And then
I don't understand why the fitness test was important.
Because he's fat.
Oh, because Sue says he won't pass. She's
Okay.
gonna flunk.
Oh,
I missed that.
Yeah, I missed that too.
Yeah. Pretty sure people can graduate high school in this country barely being able to read. So I don't think climbing a rope should be your priority.
Yeah.
Well,
Just saying.
Again, I listened to a Jordan Peterson lecture. People can get advanced degrees with less knowledge of what they're talking about than a 12-year-old with a public library card. So like, why does he need to climb a rope, Sue? So then he's biggest losering. I didn't even think of that, but that's so accurate. I remember watching The Biggest Loser with my mom while eating ice cream.
That's what literally like that's what I know it from too, is like when we lived with my aunt, she loved the show because she was someone who got like gastric bypass and she lost a lot of weight, but then she like gained it back. And like that's what we ended up doing. Like she loved that show, but she ate ice cream during it. It was like this is ironic.
Well, it's most people on The Biggest Loser do gain the weight back.
Yeah, it's because
they're doing.
I don't want to get into another PSA, but like they're not focusing on lifestyle changes. It's literally a competition to lose weight so you get money, and it's like you're not actually changing things that you need to be changing in order to actually sustain. Plus, also, they're working out every single day. They have access to trainers. They have access to like super healthy foods. And it's like they're isolated from their friends and family who like might pressure them or like influence their life. It's so
the Bachelor
nuanced.
of weight loss, because how people can you can fall in love when you're in a mansion and you go on these incredible dates and you have your pick of 20 women. I don't even know how many, or 20 men if it's The Bachelorette, and you get to pick whoever you like. And, that's not how you don't live in a mansion. I mean, a lot of people in The Bachelor maybe do, but like IRL, most people aren't living in mansions, wearing designer gowns, going on helicopter rides, that's not how most people fall in love.
But that's how you and Rafa fell in love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, but even Disney characters are like falling in love in trauma most of the time. Like it's just such an unrealistic.
We have the trauma bond with people. Yeah. That's how real love works.
Exactly.
Most like action, science fiction, and fantasy too. I feel like Star Wars is like that. Like most people fall in love in like a crisis situation.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's when you learn who you can count on. That's bonds are forged. But but again, most people aren't like Tinder isn't like The Bachelor, and life isn't like Biggest Loser. Like you'll be going to birthday parties and Thanksgivings,
going out to eat, just in general. Like you're having to make choices every single day, and that like you have to like be able to train yourself essentially to like make these choices that are quote unquote better. Like even they help you reach a certain goal. Like it's neutral. Yeah. It's just neutral.
Even when even when I try and work out every day, and I can pack my gym bag the night before and still sleep too late, and then like have then I can't work out that day, and it could just be because the season changed and it's getting darker, or whatever. I was up 10 minutes later the night before, but it's just so many things can happen. And yes, discipline is powerful, but like they're not teaching you to be disciplined in your real life circumstances where you have a job where you have to show up at a certain time. That's a big thing.
And you have expectations of like family, especially those people. A lot of those people had kids. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do when like your kid like leaves like half their mac and cheese on their plate, and you're like, oh, well, I don't want to waste it, that's wasteful. So then you like eat it. It's like, oh well, I fucked up. It's like they're not training you to handle certain situations.
You have to drive your kid to school in the morning and then get to work. Like, are you gonna? And then when you pick them up, you take them to soccer practice. You have to help with homework. You have to clean the house. You have to make dinner.
Food prep for 4 hours so you can make super healthy meals to have them. No, like
it's just like
that's why that show's not on anymore. Is because everyone's like, wait a second, this is a fraud.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, someone will talk to me about The Bachelor like it's something relevant that I should be concerned about. And I'm like, wait, why is it still on?
Yeah.
Why is it still on?
Speaking of a show that was on since like 2004 and is still going.
Yeah.
I think they should do like a middle class version of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And it's like, you have to go grocery shopping with this person. And you have
to go
like,
on a flight with them. You have to board a
Yeah.
flight with them.
Yes.
And then
you
the
have to take a
flight
road
gets
trip.
canceled.
It cannot be first class. It has to be.
Nope, you're in coach.
Yeah.
You're the back of the flight.
And that flight is taking place in January.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the Midwest.
Yeah. I want them all to be like, we all love watching hot people. They can be like Midwest 8 to 10s. Which is like people say that's like an LA 6. It's already gross to rate people. But like just like
I'm an Indiana 12 baby.
Indiana 12 baby. Just like normal looking attractive people and like watch them do things. I saw a TikTok the other day that said TikTok is breaking people's brains because you aren't meant to see this many attractive people on a regular basis. She was like, Helen of Troy, probably an LA 7. She launched 1,000 ships because she was such a big deal because people didn't see that many hot people.
Yeah, that's really funny. She didn't have like a extended jaw like was it the Habsburgs?
Yeah,
that was really that really predates it, but
it is funny sometimes when you're like, look, this is Philip the Fair, and you're like,
fair, interesting. That's not a fair assessment.
Do you ever wonder too if like, because in fairy tales and things, the prince or the princess, like they're gorgeous, and part of me wonders, it's like, well, maybe it's just because like they had enough food growing up and they don't have rickets like everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really. I don't know.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, Sleeping Beauty had magic. It was whatever that fairy thought was hot. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's just there's Glee bullshit, whatever, and then so he's like, he's yelling at Roderick, and Roderick's like, this isn't helping. Like Roderick, that's the thing is Roderick is down. Roderick is like, okay, we'll do this, but he's like, that's not gonna help me. And Spencer's like, oh, you whining, baby, and he's like, I've heard this my whole life, which again points to genetics. It points to the kind of food he may or may not have access to, and like when. I was never like a super skinny child, like, so like it wasn't, not everyone starts off at the same level. And I think weight is something people don't see the isms as much as like the racism, so people are more willing to act like we all start the same way, but that's not true. That's not true for everyone. And like what's a healthy weight for one person could be an unhealthy weight for another, like there's just so much nuance. So like I think it is interesting that Roderick's like, I've heard this my whole life, this is bullshit, like I don't want to deal with your verbal abuse. And he's like, I'm trying to be tough love, and Roderick's like, that's not working. And then Roderick storms off and he's like, you're a quitter and like you're fat, whatever. And Will sees it and is like, are you okay? Because that's the most Will ever does when he sees bullying, is be like, are you okay? Which is like acceptable behavior for like another high school student, but as the teacher, he should be.
He's not a teacher.
Bully.
He's just hanging out weirdly in this school.
True.
Right.
But like as the adult.
Yeah.
Will has failed every episode of What Would You Do? That show where they like do those weird like Glee has those situations, and those characters, most of them fail. Like I think Kurt has maybe stood up for people a couple times. Finn, Sam, again, white males. It's classically.
Yeah.
Santana stood up for Kurt and Blaine for Takarovsky. When she said she kept razor blades in her hair. But Spencer is just like, and then he's like, you better complete your end of the bargain. And I'm like, you didn't complete your end of the bargain, Spencer.
I know. You didn't do anything. I thought maybe when Roderick was telling him off, we would have seen some sort of twist in the storyline where Spencer is trying to figure out how to be a better teacher or coach or friend. No, it didn't happen.
I wanted Alistair to see Spencer doing that.
Yeah.
If I did that, I'd be like, oh, look, a potentially verbally abusive partner.
Drama.
I'm gonna get out now.
Consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, no bully in Glee ever really faces consequences, except for maybe Karofsky, and that's because he's that.
Right.
Yeah, so anyways, they're like, then Spencer is pining over Alistair, and he ruins The Cure. That's my favorite Cure song, Friday I'm in Love. And he sings it, and it's like, it's embarrassing. It's not even that bad of a cover.
Yeah.
It was just very cringy.
The lip
It
singing
was.
is so bad.
And
It's so bad.
And his dancing around, I was like, yeah, I miss Jake. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like Ryder, I don't know, like your song was good, you know? But like it's just not good. And like he's also just like watching, they're like doing sit-ups and he's like staring at him like a murderer.
This is where
It
that
was
is.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
It happens twice, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
damn.
one of the shots, Spencer's just shirtless while they're doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Where they're next to each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like,
No one else is shirtless. Let's
Just
point that
him.
out too. Just him. He's trying to flex, literally.
yeah. And it does make me think of every once in a while you see like a TikTok or something. TikTok. Something
I love watching TikToks.
Especially the orange TikTok.
The orange
Oh,
TikTok.
yeah.
You'll
Yeah,
see someone's doing like a joke at the gym or something, and like one person is shirtless. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you have to wear a shirt in the gym.
Right. Yeah.
Sanitary.
Mm-hmm.
This is
People
a
are
post.
sweaty.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's why one of the reasons I got the monkeypox vaccine was because I was like, sweat is a way it's transferred.
Yeah.
And
if you're going
I-
to the gym.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because people don't wipe down machines properly.
no. Well, because
Come
half the
on,
time
people.
what they give you is just like a towel or like a paper towel and like the lightest spray.
Yeah. It's like barely disinfectant. Like,
Yeah. It's like watered down. It's just like vodka. They're just like, here's some cherry vodka and a Purell dispenser. Go.
no, they just put some water in the Tito's bottle and then screw the spray bottle top on it.
That would probably work better.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he's dancing around the choir room and they're like, oh, that might not be good. Maybe you could do something with someone like Roderick or
And this was the moment that I realized they were trying to find a song for the bar mitzvah, and that song was something that Spencer was suggesting. And then I was expecting more songs from other people.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Yeah. And one time I was reading a book. We're getting all over the place this week, whatever. I was reading a book, and when I ended it, it was like a fantasy book, and I ended it, and like this song started playing in my head, like credits were rolling. Like she was like, "You owe me a new harp," and then it like panned up, and the birds flew by, and it started playing da 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 da. And I'm like, how dare you ruin this song? And now this book, Spencer, postmodern gay, and yeah, so he's like, he's not even a team player. Why do we have to do and instead of being like, how is he not a team player? He was the first person on this team. He shows up to every rehearsal.
He is the team player. He's Tina.
He's the Tina. He planned a fucking wedding for two people he didn't know. You know, like he's a team player. And but it's because pulling your weight, or like literally on Glee, they did this with Mercedes, that like if you're fat, you're not like contributing to the team.
Yeah.
Again, team sports, where I developed my eating disorder. And part of that was because my coach had beef with my brother, and so he didn't want to teach me things, but I didn't know how to do certain things.
That seems really horrible.
Yeah.
That's why I liked being the older sibling, because nobody knows you.
You just have to, your brother just had to deal with all the beef.
Oh, they
Allyssa
absolutely. Nobody had beef with me. Everyone just remembered me as being the quiet one who was good at drawing. That's what it was.
I got your brother, and they're like, "Uh oh."
Oh yeah, my brother was much more of an extrovert than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does he have a podcast?
He does not. He does not have a podcast.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people either had beef with my brother or I think we're secretly in love with him. Because they're like very kind of oddly jealous that I got to be his brother and like sleep in the same room as him. And I was very confused. I was like, it's not exciting. Like, he's not a bad brother.
Yeah, we would hope
that's really weird.
Yeah, like it was this weird kind of stuff. They're like, how could you be his brother? I'm like, I don't know, because we have the same parents. Like,
right? Is that a choice?
That's weird.
Cullen.
And the funny thing is, these people were not his friends. They were not people he liked hanging out with. You know, his friends were nice to me.
Yeah.
You know, like, so weird. Okay. I hate fat phobia. And so yeah, so Roderick is like, you're a dick, which is deserved because he is being a dick. And Rachel's like, and I'm like,
well, that whole conversation actually feels so much more realistic than some of the other conversations that we've seen the Glee Club have. In that, when Roderick says, "Oh, you're a dick," I can see a high school student actually just saying that instead of like Santana going off and
doing her rants.
Yeah, like that was mean, but it's Santana and it didn't really feel real. This felt real to me.
Well, because though in one of the rants, Lauren was like, "Actually, you're just a bitch." Which again sounds like something a real high schooler would say. If someone went on a rant saying that Artie should have his legs removed and like Tina needs an eye deslanting, I'd be like, oh my God, you suck. Like, just like, it makes sense that if someone's like, you can't pull your weight, blah, just be like, you're a dick. Like, yeah. And so they're like, we need to work together as a team, blah, blah, blah. This storyline, jump ahead to the bar mitzvah, and the demon terror child is like trapped in his Fabergé pod, which I at least thought was going to be a tribute to Lady Gaga entering on an egg. It wasn't, but yeah, I was like, this is just like a hokey elevator in like a 1930s vaudeville show, but okay. And they're like, oh, someone needs to climb this rope. And
I hated this scene.
That was
is so planted. And I was like, also an even bigger liability because those ropes are not meant to be climbed. They're meant to be pulled to move shit down.
Absolutely. And like,
why would you send someone who's the biggest guy?
No one would climb a rope like that because you could die. Like that's very, very, very dangerous. Everything backstage is dangerous. So when Kitty said, "Why don't we just find a ladder?" I was like, "Yes, Kitty,
listen to Kitty."
And then I was like, "Why did they not just find a ladder?"
Yeah, they know it's dumb because Kitty's like, "There's got to be a ladder around here."
Yeah.
At work, when people adult employees want a ladder and they ask me for a ladder, I have to be like, no, it's a liability. We can't do that because they could get injured. He's on school property doing a school function.
And his principal, because Sue's there.
Yeah.
She's like, do it.
Yeah.
And so is Will. Well, I guess he doesn't work there anymore.
And Rachel,
everyone is like,
but literally
cheering him on.
The Coach Beast is there. Like, there's literally so many adults there.
I'm just so worried for these children. Like, no one is protecting them. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
And then he
Spencer's
manages
to do it just because Spencer's like, you can do it. And Roderick in his head is like, I believe I can.
But this is after literally like Roderick called him a dick. And I'm like, okay, so they're not talking. And then Spencer's like, oh, I'm going to help you. And I'm like, I thought you guys were having beef. I'm confused. And then Roderick's like, okay. I'm like,
it made no sense. It made no sense.
It was way too convenient.
A season of character development slammed into one episode.
Yes.
Also, a season of working out for Roderick because he just shimmies up that rope like it's nothing.
Yeah, that's a miracle right there.
It could have, this at the very least,
Biggest Loser who?
3. It could have been 3 episodes. I could believe Spencer. It's Glee. I know it's fast, but like, you know, and then. So he helps him, and then they're like, he sees Alistair playing the ukulele, and I was like, of course he's playing a fucking ukulele.
I said the same thing.
very 2015. So he comes up and is like, oh, like, you try and catch me perform? And he's like, or like, oh, you saw me perform? He's like, yeah, Roderick said you guys were performing the bar mitzvah, and he told me how like nice you've been to him and how helpful. And I'm like, when? Like, when in the timeline?
He literally just called him a dick. There's no way that he could have told us. He would have told us, like, yeah, I called him a dick.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and then I was like, are they implying that Roderick lied for him? Why would he do that?
Oh, interesting.
Because that's where my brain went. I was like, oh, Roderick lied
and I know,
to help him out.
But that would make him a bad friend to Alistair.
But a good friend to Spencer.
And Spencer's who we're supposed to care about.
And so Spencer's like, I don't know, they do some flirting. And Alistair says, like, Spencer's really, like, super duper hot. And I'm like, is he? Again, beauty subjective, right? I mean, anyone. But
maybe he smells good. We don't know.
This is what I've called the ugly stepsister syndrome, in that when people have a terrible personality, you don't see them as beautiful. You maybe see them as hot, but you don't see them as beautiful. Beauty, we just, the way it's developed in our current lexicon is we kind of see it as an inside and out thing. Hotness or sexiness is physical, but like beauty kind of involves both. And maybe that's what's happening. But like, I'm like, this man is like average. He doesn't have good hair. And
no, I hate his hair.
It's all
I like his smile, but that's about it. And the only time I saw it during this episode was in this conversation.
Yeah, and because a lot of times he has this like scowl or he's angry. Maybe that's it. So I'm like, mostly other Glee guys, I'm like, yeah, they're attractive, but I'm like, no.
Spencer never smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should tell him to smile more.
We should tell him to smile. Hannah
Sweetie,
is going
you'd be cuter if you smiled more.
Diabolical.
Yeah, the how I used to get it was the old woman at work telling me I should iron my clothes because it's such a shame because I'm so attractive. Yeah.
Sorry, that's funny.
Yeah. It is.
It's not okay.
No, but I think what that taught me is that I think sometimes when you talk about power structures, it's assumed that it's inherent to the kind of person, when it's the reality is when people like, you could reverse sexism. Like, I don't think it really exists in the way people, but you know, like if society had developed in a way where only women were in charge, there would be sexism against men, because in situations where they have the control and they feel comfortable, they'll exert it but the reality is in most situations, most environments, men are the majority, men have control. So that's why they're being sexist to women. You know, it's like, yeah, like if like if any particular group has the power in the situation, they will use it against others most of the time. Yeah, which is why I was regularly sexually harassed at work. But okay, so yeah, whatever. They kiss because Spencer just like grabs him and pulls him in. And I'm like, that was not a romantic kiss. It was just like, yeah. It was like a bad spin the bottle experience. That's what it was giving. Like, it landed on Spencer and Alistair, you got a kiss. And one of them's like, and the other one's like, ugh.
Yeah. I don't ever get the sense that like Alistair's really interested until like after the kiss, I guess. Or like there's a little bit, it's like, I don't think it's enough to like be like, oh yeah, there's consent here to grab him and kiss him, you know?
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. You know, the media of film gave us the Spider-Man kiss. It can do better than this, you know?
You mean the original Spider-Man trilogy, I hope.
Yeah, with Tobey Maguire and I almost said Kristen Wiig. Kristen Dunst.
Kristen Wiig, yeah.
That's
Kristen Wiig as that character Gilly.
But like,
which is like,
sorry.
That's such a deep cut. But that's such a romantic kiss. You know, you can do great things with visual mediums that are perceived by the eyes. This is a visual medium perceived by the eyes, and the eyes mean no likey. Yeah. So whatever, I guess they're together now. He's clapping during the final performance and he joins the Glee Club. Spencer's like, you need to join the Glee Club. And he's like, I don't want to be a loser. And then he's like, but we get to like spend time together. And
somehow, yeah, they're still losers. I don't understand how they are.
No one's been bothering them this season.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because Sue tried to like stamp them out of existence. Wouldn't that, I feel like that would make them like rebels and you'd want to be part of this club.
Yeah.
Like everyone would want to be part of Glee Club because they're like against Sue.
Yeah, stick it to the person that caned your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think we're just so disconnected with this student body. We have no idea what they feel like. Compared to we would have like a general pulse. I mean, even though the Glee Club was always nominated on prom court, but like
bananas.
Such losers, you know.
Yeah,
nominated for prom.
Which is, I think you could have done a really funny storyline where they like about how they always think they're losers, but they're not. Like in 30 Rock, when Liz Lemon goes back to her high school reunion, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you showed up here." And she's like, "I was like the fun nerd." And like, "You were a bully. You were so
a bully."
mean." Yeah. Because I think the reality is, especially when you're thinking of your formative years, to someone you were their friend and someone who's really nice, and to someone you were probably a dick. You know, like that's just in varying degrees, depending on what kind of person you are.
Katie, you were not a dick. I can promise that.
I hope not.
Katie was notoriously probably the nicest person in our grade.
Notoriously the nicest person.
Well, I mean, there are only 70 of us, so you know.
69.
Yeah, that's right. Because 2 people dropped out, and we were like, nice. Dropped out weeks before we graduated too. Just want to say that.
Wait, who dropped out?
Sorry. I honestly don't even remember who it was. It was 2 boys, I think.
Okay. It's bad. I'm starting to forget like last names and stuff. Actually, to be honest, first names. I'm forgetting.
Yep.
Wait, you literally knew the names of all 70 people?
Well, here's the other thing: is that we went basically from kindergarten through 12th grade together. That was the other thing. Like
I still would not know. No,
like we've literally. Oh my god, we've literally known each other for like over 20 years.
I know.
That's
so
crazy.
Wild.
But I mean, most of those. That's the other thing. Is like most of those kids we've known since we were like really, really little. So that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's why I could probably list most of the 12 people I graduated with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know everyone that you went to school with, right?
But like,
you still talk to your teacher. I mean, it's really cringe.
But when I think of even like the kids I graduated, like my graduating class, like I can remember most of them, except there are always a couple that came out of the woodwork for graduation, and you'd be like, "Who are you?" Yeah. Great part about being homeschooled is when I hear Kesha's TikTok, I can think of the first place I heard it was church. Spencer and Allyssa are in the Glee Club now, or Alyssa's in the Glee Club and with Spencer.
Sure.
And Roderick is like, "Thanks, man. I'm losing weight and eating healthy, even though I still sneak a few Cheetos before bed. Naughty."
I hated that line so much. I was like, just eat Cheetos. If you want Cheetos, eat them.
And maybe just don't do it before bed.
Yeah, you're gonna get heartburn. Well, maybe not at 16, but 28.
Later.
Absolutely.
My diet tip, because I'm in LA, so people are talking about diets all the time. What I always say, because this is what a nutritionist kind of told me, is that it's better to focus on the foods you should be eating. You know, like I need to eat this many vegetables or this much dairy, because you know, she was like, actually, you do need to eat dairy. That's a lie that they tell you don't. You know, like depending, like something in that food group. You know, she was like, oh, and like fruit, and like focus on I'm gonna have this many servings of this, and then you're just gonna be less hungry for the other things. So it's less if you only focus on restriction. You know,
I think that's why the diet that I'm doing right now works, is because I have to focus on eating 9 cups of vegetables and fruits a day. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then you don't want anything else.
Yeah. Because vegetables are very filling.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the vegetable.
Depending on the vegetable. That's it's like salad. Like iceberg lettuce has no nutritional value. Like if you eat a bunch of that, like whatever. But like carrots, I lived off those in grad school. Also, I had an eating disorder, so it wasn't super healthy. But at least they were food, you know, and I felt comfortable eating them. Unless I had class with one professor where I didn't feel comfortable eating that day at all. Okay, where are we? Mason, I guess, his little storyline. My favorite part about Mason is I couldn't list 3
Male
character
cheerleader.
traits. Like I can identify him: brown hair, Caucasian, twin, cheerleader. What does he like? Breadsticks,
Jane.
I guess?
Jane, yeah, that's right.
He likes Jane.
He likes Jane. We know that he likes eating carbs and
the things that we learn about him is that his sister is toxic. We learn about
we learn about his sister.
Nothing can even really be inferred. Like, it's just kind of like, is he kind? Is he mean? Does he love cheerleading? Does he not? You know, like, does he like to dance? Like, nothing. Like, I know, like, these Glee characters aren't the most complicated characters. And especially that a lot of high school shows rely on archetypes, but he's not even an archetype. So I'm like, I don't even
know.
The one that, you know, it could have been fixed if, you know, if he had some sort of hobby that he wanted to do other, you know, except Jane is the object of his affection. If it had been anything else, we would learn about him.
Right.
Or if he wanted to do a quirky activity with Jane.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, like
no, he loves eating. You're right, carbs. Carbs are his hobby.
Yeah.
Breadsticks,
carbs are his hobby.
Not specifically the food, but talking about the restaurant, but presumably they have lots of carbs. And then he was like, hey, let's go get pizza. Those are his spicy activities.
Maybe he wants to go to an arcade. Maybe he likes picnic. Maybe he loves crafts. He wants to take it to a craft show. That'd be fun.
Go pottery painting.
Yeah. Color Me Mine. Remember we were looking up what Color Me Mines were available?
Yep.
It could even do like a pottery class because the movie Ghost taught us that that's sexy.
Oh boy.
And Glee did.
They did a reference to that with Marley and Jake. R.I.P. They're both just bodies in the Hurt Locker being cut up by Sue.
Yeah, so basically this plot is just like he wants to do a duet with Jane. They announce that they're gonna do duets or they need to find songs for the bar mitzvah, and Madison is on his face. Excuse me, blah, 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 we gotta do this and blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, oh, this shrew keeps talking. And that's basically, we get a few scenes of that because like he is asking Jane, oh, we should go to Breadsticks because she's upset that she got a C on her math test. And I'm like, that's rough. Like, what's going on with Jane? And then Madison,
she's average. So
average. And Madison is just like, I'm sorry, we can't go to Breadsticks. You're on like, she controls his diet. And then,
she's super annoying, and it was like an unhealthy relationship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now I understand what Kitty meant about, you know, maybe it's the flowers in the attic situation.
Oh gosh.
Well, he takes Spencer and Roderick into the locker room where whenever they do a boy talk, it's always in the locker room.
Girls don't have a locker room.
Girls don't
they have
play
the girls'
sports.
bathroom.
They don't play sports or sweat.
No.
Yeah.
We don't smell. We don't poop. No.
And if you wear your cheerleading uniform for practice, you wear that all day. You wear that every day to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, if you put a cheerleading outfit on, you are automatically a size 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
You immediately
That's how it works. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's like, I have a question about Jane, blah, blah. And then they're like, you're not dating your sister? And he's like, wait, I'm serious. And it's like, you think that's the thing. Like, if you thought someone was actually dating your sister, you would not be chill about it. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not. Even in the wild world of Game of Thrones, no one was chill about that situation.
Yeah. But then he's like, so one of you needs to ask Madison out so I can have time with Jane. And then Spencer's like, well, it can't be me. And Roderick's like, you just said she's crazy. But I'm like, why did he even bring Spencer into this conversation? And Spencer's like, women are weird, and I don't want to be part of this conversation. Like, you're the worst kind of gay man. Women are weird, mysterious creatures, and I'm bored. Something like that.
Yes, and I was like, wow, that is deeply offensive, but also somewhat of an interesting line from him. because he's a postmodern gay, but you would think that he would also be like a feminist. But nope, he's a misogynist.
Mhm.
Yeah,
just like a lot in the gay community.
Yeah,
because
he's
it exists.
He's that kind of gay.
Yeah,
he is
not so progressive after all.
Not so progressive. He is an 1800s literature.
Who
gay.
probably
yeah.
wouldn't actually say that and has had to deal with Rachel? Kurt. Kurt probably wouldn't have said that line.
Yeah.
He probably would have said he was bored though.
Yeah. But again, shows how shitty his friend Spencer is. He can't even listen to like a 30-second conversation. And then he had nothing really come. They're just like, you have to like tell her.
Well, they both say that she's crazy and that they don't want to deal with her.
Which, okay, it just sucks because the idea of like Roderick and them like going on a date and like hijinks, I was like, that is more entertaining than whatever this episode gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't tease me with a good time and then give me this.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, they covered no songs from the musical 13, a musical literally about getting your bar mitzvah. Yeah, so then season 6 is so hard. Like I'm just drawing all I can remember is the rage. So
seeing red.
So then he tells her, he cuts in line at the
cafeteria.
And someone's like,
this.
Hey, you can't do that.
This person literally is like, I'm so sick of you people.
He literally says
I
that.
love that.
And she's like, we're twins, it's okay. And he's like, hey, I want to do a duet with Jane. And she's like, but we already did a duet with Jane during the one other time you performed. And he's like, well, I want to do another one. She's like, no, we don't. And he's like, you're too controlling. And she's like, I blah, 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 control everything. The one time you didn't listen to me, you ate that entire bag of sugar-free gummies and you had so much bad diarrhea. People thought it was a mudslide. And I'm like, who are the other people? What's going on?
Why do they think it's a mudslide? Like, clearly that's diarrhea. Come on.
Who's witnessing this diarrhea? Why is it
I thought
not
maybe
in
she
the
meant
toilet?
like he had diarrhea and then he left and they were like, oh, what's that? Oh, must be a mudslide. Like, you would know. It would smell.
Yeah.
And then that was a meme at the time, the sugar-free gummies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
She also screamed this to the entire cafeteria.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like when she is 100% portrayed as a crazy person.
Yeah.
Suddenly. She was kind of like quirky before. Now she's like suddenly full on.
Well, it's because they needed to give Mason some character development.
And at one point, Mason said something like things were rough at home. And I'm like, oh, are these trauma bonded twins? Are their parents neglectful? So she's controlling his diet to make sure he's eating right. Like,
interesting.
Is she, as the girl, forced to be his mother because they have neglectful parents?
Interesting.
Is she the emotional support oldest daughter? Anyway, so they so he tells her off, and then Jane is like, actually, maybe I'll just perform with Roderick. It'll be easier. And I'm like, that's such after you see someone go through all that to perform with you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, everyone keeps calling her a stage hog, and I'm like, when? She's barely been on stage.
There's a lot of microaggressions. She has not been on stage very much at all. And like they mentioned stuff about like, oh, she keeps like touching her hair, and I'm like, microaggression.
Yeah,
microaggression.
The hair that
Mason touches her hair. In the very beginning, when he asks her out, he goes like, and it's like,
really?
I missed that.
Yes, he does. When they're in the hallway, he because I thought maybe, I haven't watched up to this, season 6. I was like, do they know each other really well? Are they dating? Or are they like adopted
I'd be surprised if they did know each other's names.
But he to get her attention, and she turns around, he like touches the top of her hair, and I was like, no.
Which is
oh my god,
very believable Ohio teenager.
Absolutely.
But it is
it's very true, but
it's just treated as normal, and it's never a storyline that Jane's like, I have to deal with this bullshit at school. Which I'm giving her a whiny voice, but like that would actually be like a legitimate like grievance.
Yes.
But like we don't get that. I mean, I had a friend in Boston who would be like on the train and would just look and people were trying to touch her hair. Adult strangers on a train.
That is horrible.
She said she was like, I'd like the South is better for me as a Black person than Boston.
I would believe that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something like coming from, I come from like a white, very white Asian part of Detroit, but coming from Detroit when I was in Boston, there were times where I was like, where are the Black people? Like, I just like was used to like some at the grocery store, some at the, I don't know, just like.
No, Boston is very racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, you have to go to certain parts of the city because it's very segregated.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
But Detroit is one of the most segregated cities. Right. But like in a university setting, there was that diversity and there wasn't at BU.
Right. And there's 1,000 universities in Boston.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole place is a university setting.
Yeah. So anyways, they so they're talking about Jane flipping her hair or whatever. And then he performs I Want to Break Free at the bar mitzvah. There's like the fence.
He's the opening act.
He's the opening act, yeah. Not a bad performance.
No.
All the girls are doing the thing they do in Glee where they have them all run up and do.
Yeah. It's like it's the Justin Bieber experience all over again.
Yeah, which they never lean into. Let me mansplain this, but like I feel like most of the time when I've seen women do that IRL, they're joking. It's like part of like we're all doing this as like a joke, like pretending our classmate's a superstar.
Right.
Like they're not actually upset. They're just like, haha, like and they do it for 10 seconds and then they're just like, whatever.
But also, wouldn't you agree that most of these women are probably not at this school? They're like family. So like,
they're invited to his bar mitzvah. They're like 13
grown women.
Yeah.
But so it's like they're grown women who are like really into it. And then there's also like
I thought they were his friends.
Were they supposed to be girls?
I thought they were supposed to be like tweens. Yeah.
Oh, I did not get this.
Which I mean, when I was an intern at a school, and I like would interview kids and stuff, and so because of that, somehow they all like knew me, and like they would like all the girls would be like, "Oh my gosh, hi," and just be like, "Hey." I mean, I was in college, and they would ask like, "Oh, what high school do you go to?"
I like my parents' basement.
Like I am a senior in college.
You have just youthful skin, youthful energy.
But it was just like kids being kids. Like I wasn't gonna make it weird. I was just like walking to where I had to work. But yeah, it is weird. It is just they've just done it so many times. Like it made more sense when it was like the boys were doing like the Beatles or whatever, and the girls were faking Beatlemania, like because those were people who were friends,
right.
like that.
This did not. It felt not real because I can. Okay, so like this actually does happen when you go to concerts of people who are extremely famous,
like Harry Styles.
Exactly. Like I could see it happening at Harry Styles concert, but there's no way you're gonna do that for someone you don't know at a bar mitzvah party.
Yeah.
Also, how did they remove all the seats for these tables that people are sitting at?
Excellent question. I thought that too.
Oh, I didn't think about that because they're drilled into the floor.
Yeah. I'm like,
and that would be a hassle. But I mean, that kid was going to pay New Directions $20,000 just to perform. He could afford to pay for the maintenance team that comes in, takes out the seats, sets up the tables, and then puts the seats back in after everything's cleaned up. And probably paying for the people who clean up all the confetti and shit at the end. God, I would not want to be those production assistants.
Yeah. So then Madison watches and is like, face journey time. And then she comes in and to wherever he's sitting, and it's because they always have so much time to like go walk back to dressing rooms in these performances. And like, what's going on? Like, and she's like, I guess I've been too controlling. I felt like I had to. This is actually and she's like, and I guess I'm crazy. And he's like, you are, but I love you and you make me a better person. She's like, you make me a better person. I think I like that actress. I think she was acting her ass off to make this scene work. And I think there was a world where it could work, maybe where it was spread out over at least more of a spotlight in one episode, if not a couple episodes, where she's like, hey, I like explaining that because it's implied that she's doing this not out of just a need to be controlling or bossy, as women are often called in the street, but like a need that like she's filling a family need, that like they needed to look out for each other because people weren't looking out for them. And based on what's happening in these schools, I'm convinced these children have no adults in their lives looking after them. Because the principal's sticking dogs on people. So
there's no parents in this world.
Yeah.
And that's why Will Schuester doesn't have adult friends, because there are no other adults.
This is Peter Pan's timeline. He killed all the adults. Because, every time.
I mean, it makes sense. Matthew Morrison, he was in Finding Neverland, right?
He was, yeah.
The musical.
Because each time you breathe in Neverland, an adult dies.
What?
Yeah, I read the book. That was the thing.
No way.
So Peter Pan would breathe like to kill as many adults. Peter Pan caused World War I. Fight me on it. You can't convince me.
What the fuck? I did not know this lore of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Hannah, every time you breathe, an adult dies. Just because you breathe does not mean you're causing the adult to die.
No, but it's in Neverland. It is explicit that
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. So they Peter Pan breathed and killed that woman who was supposed to be Peter Pan in that nursing home show.
Wait, can he choose who he kills?
No.
Or it's just random people?
No. He can't choose. He's just blindly causing death. Yeah.
So Thanos,
yeah.
Thanos.
I mean,
it's Thanos versus L. Which one would you prefer? Anyone know L? Come on.
L from Stranger Things?
No.
Sorry.
I'm thinking.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
no. Randomly, we're gonna have like one person who listens to our podcast be like, "Yes, Death Note,"
and they're screaming
an
at the
anime.
podcast.
Yes.
I was like, I was about to guess Death Note because I do know that. Yeah, because I was like, Darkseid is the Thanos of DC. Whenever that's resolved, him and Jane go get pizza, and they make some face journeys during their performances. Yeah, so I guess we'll do the music stuff.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I have to correct myself because Elle is the director, the detective. God damn it! I'm talking about Light. Which, to be fair, starts with an L, but listen, whoever is listening to this and knew Death Note is going to be real mad with me. So I'm correcting myself. It's Light.
So that no one can come after you.
The anime
like, wow,
people.
fake Death Note fans.
Oh, yeah.
The anime fans are going to hate this announcement.
Now listen,
but the anime
to be
fans
fair,
don't run this podcast.
I am not a Death Note fan.
Ooh.
I'm just an anime fan.
That person,
but Death Note.
They're so mad.
I know it. Like I know of it. I know the storyline and everything, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Even madder if you were like, I prefer the live action remake on Netflix.
Oh my god! Okay, that was terrible.
Where Scarlett Johansson plays everyone. Was she in that, or was she a different Asian woman?
She was
a different one. Ghost in the
Shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's also going to be playing Ash Ketchum in the Pokemon movie. Yeah.
I'm excited for her to play.
That's my favorite joke.
I'm excited for her to play trees because she said I can play any man, woman, or tree. I'm excited for Penguin in the Amazon series gets to like the tree spirits. They're all played by Scarlett Johansson.
Or live action remake of Pocahontas and she's Grandmother Willow. She's playing an old woman and a willow tree.
And a Native American old woman willow tree.
I love this. I need this in my life.
Colin Jost will play Percy the Bulldog. Be like,
I love this. Yeah. God, this episode is horrible.
It was so bad.
We're so all over the place because we're literally like, I don't even know what to say anymore. So I'm like, I hate this. This is just not good.
Okay. So the music and whatever. Sue is okay. Sue wants a Teacher of the Year award or something, or Principal of the Year, Unite National. She wants that. She writes a letter, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'll think about signing it." He doesn't like Sue. We've established that.
Yeah.
Later, it is framed as being about wanting a date with him.
But I don't think that's right because
no.
He
remember
thought that she was a man, and so
no. It's referring back to an episode where she
did want a date with him.
Yes,
but not anymore.
It does. Yeah, it's like that's why it doesn't make sense. It's like, why would you try to frame it as this when clearly it's like, I believe that she wants this Principal of the Year award. I don't think she has anything to do because also this man let Rachel come back and start the Glee Club.
Somebody else was talking about it. Wasn't Sue?
Will. It was Will.
I think he was just making.
Yeah.
I thought he was making fun of her.
But then it gets to her. That's like someone being like, "Yeah, you pooped yourself in first grade." To me now, at a 28-year-old, I'd be like, "Yeah, I was sick."
Didn't you?
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like what the tea is here.
Or I was playing blocks. I was busy.
Priorities. So Sue wants this letter, and he's like, "Oh, think about it." And so he's basically like, "Oh." He's like, "Actually, can you give pointers to my nephew, Myron, who's getting his bar mitzvah? You know, the greatest moment in a Jewish man's life," or she says, you know, and Rachel's all like, "Oh, like, this is great." And I'm like, "Get there, remember, she's Jewish this week." They say something about, okay, Kitty actually like nods and smiles and does something respectful. And I'm like, that's surprising. I'd expect Kitty to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
That's later confirmed. So, he does a performance of, I forgot the song happened. What is it called? Do you know the first song that he does?
I don't remember it. I remember the song, but I don't remember what it was.
Isn't it Beyonce?
Yeah, it was Destiny's Child, I think. Lose My Breath?
Yes, Lose My Breath.
Yeah.
Can't remember if it's Beyonce or Destiny's Child.
Let me, I pulled up the Glee wiki. I always end up doing that when we get to the songs lately.
Destiny's Child.
Destiny's Child, yeah. So he does it, and they're like, "Oh, that was great." And I'm like...
Well, they're also like cringing because like he's a child singing this very like sexualized
doing sexual moves.
Yeah.
And surrounded by women doing sexual moves. Oh, it was terrible. It was horrible.
And they were doing a great job. Let's be clear. I think it's very rude that they were fired and then replaced with new directions. Just gonna say that.
Okay, between the fat shaming, between that scene and then this scene, this is when I was like, oh, I find this morally repugnant. Yeah. And I was like, Glee is turning me into Ben Shapiro. I was like,
my first note on my notes is this going to turn me into Ben Shapiro?
I was like,
will this turn me into Ben Shapiro? We'll find out. That's what I wrote.
The real question is, if Glee happened now, would they do WAP?
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. This little Kimmy is singing Wet Ass Pussy. Absolutely.
And it'd be on Netflix, so they could get away with it.
Absolutely.
But not if it was on Disney Plus.
Wet Ass P word. Speaking of Ben Shapiro, nailed it.
So, yeah, Ben Shapiro. So he's not in Glee. His sister is, but
I still haven't gone back and looked at that.
Yeah,
she apparently is like she has a madrigal,
line too. Yeah, but not one of the fun ones from Encanto.
Yeah, in was it season 3, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
In the Peanut Butter Show Circle episode.
Triggered.
So he's doing this, and I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, why? Yeah, you know, because he's actually a child. Like,
and they're playing it as a joke, but like, this little kid. No,
it's very Toddlers and Tiaras. But like when they did push it, the joke was that they're teenagers trying to be sexy, that obviously like they're all virgins and they don't really know, and that's something teenagers would and have done, and they're also all played by 25-year-olds. Like,
so this person is like a child at this point.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Yeah. Oh, so gross. And then they're like, maybe the backup dancers could smile more. That's what Rachel says. But you know what? Here's the thing, because people I'm gonna pull a hot take out. Simone Biles, icon. I remember she was on Dancing with the Stars, and they said, "Oh, maybe you should smile more." And she's like, "Smiling doesn't win new gold medals." And everyone was like, "Yes, Queen," because people are associating it with when people tell you to smile, just IRL. You're walking down the street, you're at the grocery store. In performances, you are expected to smile because you're supposed to look like you're enjoying yourself. That's part of the performance.
Yeah,
is the smile. So it's not the same as Rachel just being like, "Oh, the barista needs to smile more." Like that is an actual note.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, like, but it's still just like, and then he screams at them, he fires them, he's verbally abusing them. He spends apparently money later on like
no wonder they don't smile.
Yeah,
they're
he's a
miserable.
horror.
Yeah, and then he later like flies a bunch of dancers out and like fires them too.
This kid is my nightmare. I don't really like kids in general. So if one comes along like this, I have a really hard time treating it like a human being.
Well, because he's not acting
treating
like
it like a human being. I love that.
No, let's.
No, it's not a criticism. I love that.
Because he's not acting like a human being.
No,
exactly.
I feel like no kid is like this. I mean, some kids are very awful, but they're not quite like this. Like this is extreme. He's
past what the Catholic Church, my favorite abusive relationship, calls the age of reason.
Yes.
So, that
he
like
can go to hell now.
You're capable of knowing what is right and wrong. That's like when I was 7, I was allowed to have my first communion. I kept bugging people about it. And I was like, that's the age because you can understand what it is like. And that's debatable because, some people like, we don't do infant baptisms. We just pressure 8-year-olds into doing it. And, like, that's a whole conversation. But like,
that was me.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, too. That's right.
Yeah, I was like 10. Yep.
But
first communion story. My tooth was loose, like really loose during my first communion. And my mom made me pull it out because she was afraid it was going to drop into the priest's hand.
I love
That's
that.
so bad.
That would have been amazing. It's like, here, I'll trade you.
My piece of my body for the body of Christ.
For the body of Christ.
It's a trade. Bartering.
But I remember I broke my leg that year, and a woman was worried that my wheelchair was going to ruin the procession.
Ruin it. Oh,
yes. My mother, my uncle, she has a brother who has been in a wheelchair his whole life. So my mom was not the right person. I mean, no one's the right person, but was not the right person to give that take to. My mom was basically like, you can deal. And the thing was, I was not in my cast or wheelchair at that point. But part of me feels like my mom like wished I was, just to spite. Like my mom was very polite about it, but
if there was a kid who was permanently in a wheelchair, do you think she would have said the same thing? Like,
I don't think she would have said it, but maybe she would have thought it.
Right.
And I mean,
can we get someone to carry him? Probably something like that.
Someone at church also gave me crayons when I was in my wheelchair at church. Like this man just bought crayons and gave them to me, and like so there's a lot of good thing too. Though when I got my first confession, I was in my wheelchair, and the priest thought I was just making my mom carry me places because I was lazy. So he made me walk on my broken leg to get my first confession.
What?
Which the hospital also did to me because they didn't know how to deal with a broken leg. So
wow.
You have just described so many problems in America in just like a couple small stories.
Yeah.
What a Cullen's Corner. I'm so glad we're bringing it back toward the end of the series.
Yeah, just throwing out that childhood. Like, this childhood trauma is still an overstatement because I was just kind of like, the hospital was more traumatic because literally just broken it. It was very painful.
Yeah.
And the women were like making fun of me and like shaming me they were more interested in trying to imply that my mom broke my leg than actually giving me medical care. But but the priest was just like, I would just do it, and I just did it. And my mom like caught me as I was leaving because she's like, I was basically like falling like forward. But I like barely remember that, but I vividly remember the blonde woman making me walk.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Wow. This is wild.
My parents really should have sued. Because the hospital apparently changed policies after that. Like, it did cause effects because I think the orthopedic person my mom took me to later was like, what? He's like,
Yeah,
they
they
did
probably
what?
chewed them out.
Yeah.
Or they weren't in the same hospital, or you don't
They
know?
weren't. It was,
Okay.
but like they
But
didn't.
they gossiped about them.
No, they did. I think they called someone because he was that kind of guy that would. Because I remember he just
Wow,
literally
that's
like
good.
took scissors and like ripped my pants open and put a cast on me because he was like, "What are they doing? They're having him in
They
this."
didn't even put you in a cast.
No, they put me in a splint, and every time it moved, I would scream. And we were not allowed to scream in
Oh.
my house because it was like, if you scream, you better be dying. But like, I felt like I was
Wait,
dying.
so you went
Yeah.
to the hospital, they splinted your leg, and they sent you back home?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
old were you?
wow.
7.
Yeah.
Baby. Just a baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I hope
That's
someone was fired,
crazy.
but I'm actually pretty sure no one was.
No one was.
No,
But
that
I just
person owns the
remember
hospital now.
like one of my like a teenager that like was like my mom's friend's kid was like, it's in the Boy Scout manual. When you have a broken leg, you immobilize it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
easy. Boy
Yeah.
Scouts know what to do.
Yeah. Where were we? This child. Okay, so I
Yes.
wrote this child that has reached the age of reason. That's how we got here. He's reached
Yeah.
he's old enough to know he's being a little shit, you know, and I wrote in my notes, the writers of the show were like, what does this show need? We have a few episodes left. It needs an awful little twit. This little twit child that's just awful.
Also, we don't know like what gives him the power to be like this. Like
I
he always
Money.
comes from money, but
Money.
we don't know about
his uncle's a superintendent.
Yeah, and guess what? They
Yeah.
don't make that much money.
Yeah, I was like, public education isn't
But like,
famous.
so what do his parents do? Like, what gives him like this? Like, who raised him, and why did they raise him this way? Like, that's what like I don't understand. It's like
Maybe
yeah.
Muffy from Arthur.
I feel like it would have made more sense if this was a superintendent's kid,
yeah,
and the superintendent was like, "Yeah, you let him do whatever you want, or whatever he wants," and just so like he could punish Sue.
Yeah.
You know, like it would make sense.
Like if you told him to act badly.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
like
Or
you-
even just it's just like, you know, all those things that you want to do, go ahead, go wild.
yeah,
You know?
like so because she has to take care of him all day. I'm like, when is he in school? She's putting him in vitamin B drips and pitching themes for the bar mitzvah, and he's
She
like,
goes
the
to his
theme should be
house,
me.
which I'm pretty sure is the same bedroom where they sing Ben to a near blind Blaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she has to read him the Torah at night, so he
absorbs it.
And then she stops, he screams, and he's just this like, so Byron's just terrible. It's his bar. He wants to be in a Fabergé pod, whatever. It's his bar mitzvah. Will's like, Rachel is like, this is a sacred honor. This is a special occasion. And then Will's like, we'll be performing for our toughest audience of all. And Kitty's like, Jews. And that's when I wrote Kitty is Kanye West. I came from a divided house because I mean, I don't think I like him that much now, but Rafa's female cousins love Taylor Swift and his male cousins love Kanye West.
Oh,
no.
The beef in that room.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I think Swifties are all a little smug right now because Taylor Swift isn't spewing Nazi propaganda, but yeah.
She's doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Not being anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Not being anti-Semitic in the year of our Lord 2022. Like, you're not illiterate peasant who only knows 10 people. Like, okay, yeah. So Kitty's, I knew she would. I'm like, Kitty's gonna say a Jewish thing. Like, she's gonna say something anti-Semitic. She does. And then it's time for the bar mitzvah. There's a scene where she's like complaining and she's like zoned out. And apparently he wants Rachel, Sam, Beast, and Shu to be there because he's a Rachel Berry fan.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense.
They keep trying to imply that this boy is straight, even though he's giving off very gay vibes. He's a child, but a gay child I could imagine having an obsession with a very niche celebrity like Rachel Berry.
It's odd because he feels very much like a younger, more entitled Kurt.
Yeah,
interesting.
He's like a different gay stereotype. He's similar to Kurt in that.
Yeah,
but
it's just very weird. But you're right. It's like it's definitely a gay stereotype, and it's like but he's straight, ?
Yeah, because he sexually harasses Kitty. But it's funny. 'cause he's a
And
boy.
women in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pays her for her whatever she does.
Or because she gave him her panties because he shit himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a callback to, what movie is that? 16 Candles?
Oh, really?
The John Hughes movie where...
Yeah, well, they get the
Yeah.
panties, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
interesting.
I thought they were trying to imply that Myron knew who she was, and she was like a celebrity to him because they're both Jewish. Like, I thought that was supposed to be sort of another anti-Semitic joke. Like, oh,
Maybe.
she's a legend at Temple, or you know.
I did not
maybe
pick that up.
I mean,
I could be
'cause
wrong. Maybe I'm being anti-Semitic.
she's been on Broadway at this point in the timeline.
Oh, okay, that's right.
She's been on Broadway and has a failed TV show.
Okay, so she would have been like a local legend at least.
Yeah, she would have been a niche celebrity. Yeah. Because later he introduces Rachel Berry in the New Directions.
That was wild. I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
They perform, it's the bar mitzvah now. They all have to perform. Roderick, Postmodern Gay, and Jane do Uptown Funk.
I was like, there's no way this song is actually contemporary to the show. But
it was.
Alas, it was.
That song was very big when this came out. It is a serviceable cover. There's no discernible difference.
I honestly feel...
It's a bop, though.
I feel like my sense of time is really screwed up because of Glee, not because of the pandemic. I think I was like, no. Uptown Funk didn't come out that long ago, and there's no way that Glee was also on. And then I was like thinking about it. I'm like, no, I was like in like undergrad when that song came out.
Yeah.
And Glee was done when I was in it. I'm like,
no.
Oh my God.
Time. It's because mentally people associate Glee with when the first 3 seasons were airing.
Yeah.
And it aired 3 more years, which in a young person's life is a big gap. Like in your 30s, whatever. But like that's the difference between high school and college, you know?
Yes. Weird.
They do that. And then we have their prepping for their next song. And Sue is like mad about Myron. And she's blaming Will, that like Will made her do this, which is outlandish. And she's like, you don't even work here. What are you doing here? I don't need your peppy can-do attitude. I got rid of you. I got you a dream job of vocal adrenaline. And you're still back here skulking these halls with your shitty speeches. And all these people love you, even though you haven't done anything to make their life better.
Yeah.
Sue is just like, you're terrible, I hate you, I want to destroy you in the Glee Club. And he's like, you're doing this to get the date from a guy who thought you were a man. Which is like, that's a really interesting angle to choose with your trans friend right there, but okay.
Right.
And then she jumps on him and they're like physically fighting. And because Sam is trying to break it up. How is Sam the only responsible adult? Like, and
Sam
then...
has always been the only responsible adult.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, I still wouldn't entirely want him alone with teenagers, not because he would harm them, but he's not the brightest. But I could assist and coach. Yeah, I'd be comfortable with him being one of the adults present, as opposed to Will or Sue, which I would not want near a human or an animal or a plant, to be fair.
Or a plant.
Maybe a rock could handle them. Shout out to Rocco from Sesame Street. But
yeah. Shout out.
So they're fighting. They then the superintendent is like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, we're just rehearsing. And then they're about to perform. He's like, I'm gonna trip you on stage. And she's like, you wouldn't. He's like, I would. And then they sing Break Free by Ariana Grande.
I kept waiting for the trip. Yeah. I kept waiting for it.
You're like, they planted it for me. Where is it?
What happened? This is the exact type of Will Sue interaction that I want, except I want Will to actually follow through on the threats because he was vicious this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's strange.
Maybe because he doesn't work there anymore, so she can't fire him.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point.
I want them to sing, this is the part where I break your face, and he trips her. Yeah. But what I will say is this song is an insult to Ariana. is an insult to her and her legacy.
Is she dead?
This song is such a bop. I had choreography for this song that I just made for no reason. I just had break free choreography that I would pull out at basement parties. But the thing about the songs that they cover of Ariana are huge songs that very much on paper you're like, yes, these are perfect songs for Glee to cover. But they always do them in the most boring arrangements, the most boring, weird settings with like no relation to the plot. And it also points out, especially in Break Free, that those lyrics make no sense if they're sung in a way where you can distinguish the words. But they sing Break Free, Rachel Berry and the New Directions, and he comes down in the pod, which I'm like, I thought he shit. Like, I wouldn't want to go back in a pod I shit myself in, but okay.
Mm-mm.
And they perform, it's a hit, Alistair's clapping, whatever. And then the superintendent pulled some strings, and Myron convinced the principal that he's ready now for high school to perform in the New Directions. Now they have 8 members, still shy of 4. He just kicks Sue in the shin and like runs off, and it's like,
She lets him. Yeah.
I said at like the top of the episode when we first meet him, and I was like, oh God, like this is me a one-off character. I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if like this kid joined the Glee Club? And then it was happening. I literally was silent for like 3 minutes. I was just like, sorry, I'm doing what Allison does, just doing stuff for the camera for you guys. No, I literally was just stunned. I was like, oh my God, they did a thing that I thought this was gonna be a one-off character. No.
Yeah, Sunshine one-off character, Myron in the Glee Club. And Will is like, well, great, ruin your life. Like, you tried so hard to destroy us, we're here. She's like, I'm going to destroy you. And he's like, why don't you jump on me again? Because I'm going to destroy you too, whatever. And then
they have sex.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that sounds very sexual.
Honestly, though, that particular interaction was shot like a sexual tension scene.
I thought so too. I was like, why is there sexual tension here?
I know. I was like, wait, no.
Will has a history of hunting for dates at that school, so and then Sue goes back to her Hurt Locker, whatever, is putting up pictures of postmodern gay and crew, and it's going to destroy them, whatever.
Poking them in the eyes.
Yeah.
Or poking Will in the eyes with push pins.
Yeah. The Roderick one looks like she tried to take it in the bathroom, which is upsetting. Yeah, and then it shows Kitty holding a dog, and I'm like, again, don't trust her with an animal, but then they go into, then Myron's there and he's like, oh, here's money, thanks for the panties, money for a kiss. And she's like, no, but if you'll need a friend, and if you keep paying me, I'll be your friend, which is the plot of Mean Girls 2. But she is basically just like, yeah, like, you're annoying, you need someone to kind of protect you and show you the ropes. And then they're walking away and he like touches her butt.
Yeah.
I did not notice that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was.
I don't know how I missed that.
Bad.
You were like, I have to look away.
And then they sing Cool Kids in their little green tees.
Okay, green should not be a color that they wear. I'm just gonna say it. Because also it's not even like a vibrant green. It's like the palest.
It's mint.
It's like the palest, like evergreen
Sage.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like vibrant. It's not interesting. It's just so meh. And that's exactly how I felt about this song.
Well, and they're in the
it's
pair.
very low energy.
Yeah,
So
they're just like
energy.
vibing. They're in the pairs. Alistair Spencer, Mason Jane, I guess Madison and Roderick, even though we don't get any content with them. And then Kitty and her harasser, Myron. And then like he's like struggling with the choreography. He's like, oh, do this. And then she does the thing where she turns away and does the forced like fuck this kid smile, which is the same thing she did with Marley during Some Nights.
Wow.
And I was like, Becca Tobin is an expert in the I'm doing a fake smile. It's all fake because she's acting. Sorry, that's not acting. She's doing a fake smile.
Spoiler alert for acting.
Where she's pretending to be like putting on a show smile, but she's like, but I hate the person next to me. And I love that. That's it.
Yeah. This episode was all over the place in terms of content, story, writing, quality, whatever you want to call it.
And I'm pretty sure this is the only episode like that's really focused on the new kids.
That's
I'm
horrible.
Honestly, I'm gonna call you on this one, Hannah. I was not all over the place. It was just bad.
You didn't think it was all over the place?
No, it was consistently bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. That I won't disagree with. Yeah, I just think that like there's no foundation here that I want to build on. I would like to burn it down. It's not even start again, just burn it down.
I mean, I'd burn it down and start again with a Gleeboot.
Hey, that's a podcast.
So,
Tina time.
Tina, not present. She would
Zero
have been
mentions.
No alumnus.
Yeah.
No alumnies. No one's here except for Rachel, and I guess it makes sense that she's here.
And I don't think Tina would have been want to be involved in any of this. She'd be like,
No.
Okay, so let's talk about the characters. Katie, who's your least valuable player?
This was hard because I feel like a lot of them were least valuable players.
Yeah.
I think because it was mainly the first plot line. Like, of course, Sue is bad. Of course, she was bad, but that, like, we know that. I felt like Spencer because he was being incredibly fat phobic, and not just being fat phobic, but trying to couch it like, oh, but I care about you as a friend. And I just, I hated everything about that.
Yeah, I picked him and Myron. Myron's just, I don't understand why this character is here.
I'm going with the creature Myron. I cannot abide.
Yeah, Spencer and Sue. But Sue just infuriates me so much. But Spencer sucks. Like, Sue at least wore a wedding dress tracksuit once.
True.
Spencer didn't even do that. Spencer's contributed nothing to our society.
No.
In universe or out. No one was like, I feel seen by postmodern gay. Like, at least people feel like seen by Santana. Like, no. All right, Katie, who's your most valuable player?
This was also difficult because I felt like nobody was that great. I said Roderick. I felt like, not for the ending, because it really hurts that he took the tack of like, oh, well, Spencer was really just trying to help me. But at the same time, it's like, I could see why he might play into that just to save his own feelings. But I thought it was great that he stood up for himself against Spencer, at least in the beginning. And I can't climb a rope either, so I don't even know if I've ever tried.
Solidarity.
Solidarity.
I think so. I feel like it's just too much of a liability.
We did the sit-ups, I remember, because Kyle Ray was the one holding my feet.
Yeah, and also we had co-ed gym.
Yes, and like, every time.
I feel like in a public school, I feel like you would always have co-ed gym, right? I don't know.
I think. I guess probably our school was too small.
Yeah, I feel like it's just more efficient to stick everybody together.
No.
I also went with Roderick, honestly, just for being able to call postmodern gay a dick.
I'm gonna go with Mason, I think, because he was able to stand up to his sister, and even though he has no personality, it was kind of fun to watch him like grow a backbone.
Yeah, and I do like that he didn't end up doing some crazy scheme. He ended up just doing like the normal adult thing and standing up to her.
Yes, like talk to her. And he did not like get mad at her for freaking out in the cafeteria.
Yeah,
which
he
I
took
would
that like a champ.
Yeah, he was really chill about it.
Yeah, good. I guess shout out to Mason. I was gonna go with Roderick. I appreciated him calling Spencer a dick. And a weird shout out to Kitty. I can't give her the MVP because of the Jewish joke, but when she said, "Can't we just get a ladder?" And are you about to announce an alumnus walking through the door?
Some great lines.
This face during Cool Kids. All right, let's talk about the music. We had some garbage. All right, favorite and least favorite song. Okay. So we have, let me pull up the Glee Wiki. Okay, Lose My Breath, Friday I'm in Love, I Want to Break Free, Uptown Funk, Break Free, Cool Kids.
Wait.
Your songs about
what's Break Free?
So I Want to Break Free is a Queen song.
Yes, that's the one that Mason does.
Yeah, I remember that one. What's the other one?
Ariana Grande featuring Zedd, Break Free. This is the group. This is a big group number,
the
Jazz
right?
Square. This is The part where I say I don't want to. I'm stronger than I've been before. Yes.
Okay.
The part where I break free. Yeah. That's not their choreography, that's mine. Sorry, Zach.
Is he even on the show anymore? Do you think?
I don't know. Do you know he choreographs High School Musical, the musical, the series?
No.
Because I don't know anything about that show except for what you tell me.
But I just saw that on Instagram. They're like, shout out to Zach Woodley for great choreography. I was like, Zach.
Good for him.
Yeah. Katie, what's your least favorite song?
Least favorite I thought was Cool Kids. It was really low energy. It didn't really fit with the theme at all, and it just kind of
Yeah, that's a good point about the theme. I also picked that song. Like, it's not like they were bullied by cool kids. It's not like there were cool kids. No, it was just like, this is a popular song right now. Let's ruin it.
I'm gonna go with Myron's first song. Losing my breath. Yep. Because it was awful, horrific. Yeah. I think I might have passed out and come to and passed out again, and then had a fevered dream of this song. That's what happened.
I'm seconding that, and not just because it's disgusting, but because it literally does nothing. Like, it's not even much of a joke. It just kind of happens, and it's filler. They're like, it's Glee. We need to fill time with a song, and you're like, ugh.
Sung by a child. This is an adult sexual song.
I would like to say that my fevered dream is actually a fevered nightmare.
Yeah. I forgot. I pulled up my notes when I meant to pull up the song list. There's Sue says something is her Dunkirk, because this is her final battle against the Glee Club. This is her low moment in her final battle against the Glee Club, which he can no longer destroy because it's protected by the superintendent. But Dunkirk is a movie. It's a movie. You could go to the theaters and see it. It had Harry Styles in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. It's no longer in the theaters because it came out in 2016.
But it's still a movie.
2017.
2017, right.
Katie, what was your favorite song?
Also difficult. I think it was a tie between I Want to Break Free and Uptown Funk, just because I thought they were the most high energy of the songs, and I thought the singers were talented, so.
Yeah, I went with Uptown Funk. I sang along. I thought Roderick's voice was really good in it. Honestly, Jane's voice was also really good in it. Spencer's voice, not into it. He's my Jake this season.
I was on the edge between those two, Uptown Funk and I Want to Break Free. I'm gonna go with Uptown Funk because the screaming tween girls kind of threw me off a little bit.
I want to do a shout out to another song for least favorite song, least negative. For Friday, I'm in Love, for ruining like a song that could be really good and really cute.
Right.
And like, but no, it's like a nothing relationship between nothing characters. And then my favorite song is I Want to Break Free, because it's a good performance. It informs character. It moves the story along, which is what a musical is supposed to do. Even a jukebox musical.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, why don't they just do a sectionals? Like, we're still like
is that ever going to happen? Are they going to do another competition? I don't even know.
Well, Rachel almost refused to do this, the bar mitzvah thing, because she said, oh, hey, we have to practice for sectionals. It's in 2 weeks. And then I don't remember. Oh, he offered to pay them money or something.
And then Will was like, we can't take money. And Sue was like, they'll do it for free.
I literally was like, wow, they remembered something from the first season. I'm impressed.
All right.
Matthew McConaughey reference.
Katie, thank you so much for coming on again.
You're very welcome.
I'm finally so happy we can finally share your opinions with the world.
Opinions. Yes.
Well, I'm very thankful you guys had me on again. This was fun.
This was a great time. I'm glad we could really rage about this episode. Do you have any social medias you'd like to plug?
Not my own, but there's a podcast that I think is really relevant to this episode called Maintenance Phase. And it's Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs, and I believe the one's a writer and the other's a journalist, and they talk about like diet culture, fat phobia, and also weird health trends and like weird health trend histories. And it is just so interesting and so very well researched and good. So maintenance phase. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, check that out. You can follow Gleeboot on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We are at Gleeboot Pod. You can also find us on Tumblr, gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
You can follow me on Instagram at Cullen Ever After. And a friendly reminder that yes, the US has most obesity, but we're also the only country with a diet culture.
Really?
Yeah, maybe not the only, but like we have the most obesity, but we have the biggest like diet culture industrial complex kind of
we
thing.
have the biggest diet culture.
Because I'm sure there's one in Canada, but like we have the most like just sheer amount of
Yay us.
Yay. This week, I shall deign to tell you my Instagram, which is a.m.swearingen. Follow if you dare.
Ooh, challenge.
Follow if you dare.
We've been recording for so long. This episode was... we're so close, guys. We literally have 4 episodes left. And 3 episodes of the actual like us talking about the episodes, because we're gonna do the final 2 in 1 episode, right?
Yeah,
that's what we decided.
Oh boy,
we're almost done.
We're so close.
You guys are in the home stretch.
We are.
Yeah.
And friendly reminder to vote in the Gleekies for the finale.
Vote in your local Gleekie.
Vote in your local Gleekies. The locality is the world. I'm sorry, people on Mars. This is only for Earthlings. If you're not an alien from Space Jam, get up on our Instagram and click the link. It'll take you to the ballot, and you can vote. And let us know what you think of the nominees, because I'm sure people will be unhappy with some choices.
And there are no write-in options.
No write-in.
No write-in candidates. Sorry.
So yeah, we're so excited to see how the Gleekies turn out. So
yes,
a labor of love, years in the making. So tune in next week for the rise and fall of Sue Sylvester with B from Glee on the Rocks.
Another return guest.
Bye.
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 Gleeboot.